Hey everyone, welcome to GameFace, episode 190 on Sifted Games at sifted.net. You guys have found the most informative gaming podcast in the world.
In the world.
In the world. We have a big show for you guys. We're right in the middle of November, so as you know, that is when all the games are coming out. We have two gigantic games to talk with you guys about today. As you're probably guessing, Death Stranding is one of them. Probably one of the most divisive games in the last, at least decade, I would argue.
Is it?
It's pretty up there as far as split opinions on it.
I guess review-wise, maybe.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a lot of people arguing about it, really. I've seen a lot of people arguing about the reviews. I haven't seen a lot of people arguing about the game.
Anyway, we're going to talk about that on today's show. We finally got the first episode of Pactor Factor up from the latest round of episodes. We just shot those this past Friday. Pactor replies about the whole ESA E3 data leak thing, which he got a lot of fire for. Someone asked a question about that, and he replies to it on this episode. So if you're on YouTube, you'll be seeing that in about a week. If you're a patron, it is live right now. Before we get going, we have something very...
I'm going to go watch that now.
Before we get going, we have something very special we're going to tackle before we get on with the show. One of our users, Justin, reached out to me a couple weeks ago and said, hey, there might be some stuff coming from Amazon to your address. And I was like, okay, that's weird. And I think after a while, it got the better of him, and he's like, I feel like I need to explain it. So basically what happened is Justin, on Sifted, organized a bunch of sifters to get together and pitch in to buy us Christmas gifts. And those gifts showed up this week at my apartment, and we are going to open them live right here on the show. First of all, I want to say, before we even know what they are, thank you. It's awesome that you guys did this. Justin, thank you for organizing this. I don't even know what's inside it yet, but just the thought of it, the idea of it, I think is really awesome. So thank you, guys. I think I have these right. I see someone saying, it's not Christmas yet. You're right.
You clearly haven't been to a store recently.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it is Christmas.
It is already Christmas
November
here.
1st.
It's time.
Boom.
Start spending that money.
American Christmas lasts 2 months.
Yeah. I think Justin just wants us to open them now. I think the suspense is killing him. He basically said, I want you to open them on the next episode of GameFace. So that's what we're going to do. So I believe I have this right. I think mine is the smaller one, and yours is the bigger one.
Yeah, that's right.
So, Matt, you're going to open yours first, and we'll see what's in there.
They're very fancy key.
Yeah, only the best.
Is this the bathroom key? Yes,
it is. Gets the job done, though.
Indeed. And this as well. What do we got? I don't know if this is for me.
I think that one was for me.
Series 2.
Yeah.
Maybe it is for me.
Yeah, he actually told me what he got me. I wasn't going to act surprised. I already knew what it was, and this is what he got me. So not just he, but you guys got me.
Because you need one of those.
I do. And I was never going to spend the money on my own. So you guys got me.
You've taken your first step into a larger world.
An Xbox Elite Series 2 controller, which I will probably have until the end of my life.
Yeah.
Seriously. There's really no reason to buy a better controller than this.
No, it's a life-changing controller.
It is going to be forwards compatible probably forever.
For sure.
This may be the last Xbox controller I ever own, and I can guarantee you that I will play thousands of hours worth of video games with this that will ultimately result in content for you guys. So
just in time for Star Wars.
Yep. So thank you guys very, very much. I appreciate this so much. And I guess Merry Christmas. It's weird to say that in mid-November, but Merry Christmas. Oh,
mid-November when it's like 60.
Yeah, it's actually pretty cold here. At least the city isn't on fire anymore.
No, we got another couple weeks before that happens again, I think.
Okay, so here's Matt's.
Open everything.
I'm sorry, Justin, I totally screwed that up. He had told me that they were coming in a certain order, and that's how we opened them, but it looks like the shipments got mixed up.
You can never tell what order anything's coming in with Amazon. Clearly, this was delivered by Sam Porter Bridges. I have no idea where anything is. It's a book, very old school. It's the biography of Ishiro Honda, who is the director of the original Godzilla movies. That's very cool. Thank you.
That's probably a good read, actually.
That is a good. I mean,
yeah.
he's a fascinating man. He had a very interesting career, especially in the sense that he was an extremely talented film director who decided to dedicate much of his time to a giant lizard in a rubber suit.
Yeah.
I mean, it was. But when you find success, you go for it.
He defined that genre. I mean,
yeah. Forward by Martin Scorsese.
Oh wow. Will he say that
So
is
apparently
actually cinema?
Godzilla is cinema. Pro wrestling between giant monsters is cinema.
But
if you wear a cape while you do it, you are not cinema.
You're not cinema. Yeah. You're a movie, but you're not cinema.
Yes. I mean, to be fair, I agree with almost everything Scorsese did his like follow-up essay about that. I agree with pretty much everything he says there. I just think it also applies to Marvel movies.
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
But yeah, this is really cool.
Yeah. Thank you, Justin and crew. We really appreciate it. Yeah, it's awesome. I'm going to that's probably one of the best Christmas gifts I ever got, honestly. If I think about getting a gift that you're going to use, the only thing that beats it is probably a console.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
That controller will be my friend for a long time to come. So thank you guys very much.
Don't get him a console next year.
Yeah.
Let's not go crazy. But,
I'd be okay with that.
But
I'll probably have the consoles long before anyone else would be able to even buy them, is my guess. So
one would think.
Yeah. So thanks again, guys. It's really awesome. Merry Christmas to all of you as well. All right, let's get the show going.
Now you have no excuse on Fallen Order. You have the perfect controller.
I do.
It's all you in the game.
Yeah. I think I'm getting the PS4 version of that, though.
Well, that sucks.
At least that's what EA said. We'll see.
Maybe it doesn't suck because you have a better PS4 than an Xbox.
Yeah, I'm supposed to get that today or tomorrow because it comes out Friday.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people don't have code yet. The big boys do, but the middle and smaller sites don't.
I mean, it's leaked a couple places. I saw some people posting impressions on Reddit, which are pretty good.
Yeah.
It really looks like it's
something
Dark Souls plus Metroid. And I'm like, oh,
excuse me?
Is my name on it? Because that
Matt, the game.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So looking forward to it. There is a stamina bar. So
yeah, I know.
Look out.
Yeah, we will be talking about that in 7 days.
But everyone says it's not remotely as hard.
Well, that's good.
As the Soulsborns.
I'll take that. So we'll be talking about that in exactly 7 days here on GameFace.
The quest for your Gateway Souls game continues. Maybe this will be
it. Might be it. Absolutely. All right, let's get on with the show. We're going to kick things off with Need for Speed Heat. You may be thinking, Need for Speed what? What's Need for Speed Heat? That's because, they did not send this game out to journalists until launch day. There was no pre-release reviews for this game.
There was no Latino heat
whatsoever
on this.
Typically, that's a really, really bad sign for any game, not just a game from EA or a driving game, but for any game. If you don't have reviews before the game hits retail, usually that's not a good sign. Matt, do you think it was a good sign or not for Need for Speed Heat?
I think it was exactly the sign it deserved. You don't want to know what anyone thinks before you're dumb enough to spend your money on this game.
Yeah.
So here we are.
So, Need for Speed Heat. If you've played any Need for Speed games in the past, you've pretty much played this one. You can play the game. You can choose to play it offline or online. Every time you boot up, you can switch between, but it doesn't really change whether you're online or off, other than the fact that there are other human players.
Yeah, the driver's driving around.
And conceivably, you're supposed to be able to get people to join races with you, so you're not racing against AI. I had zero luck with that.
Yeah, I didn't see that ever happen.
I never got matched up. I would sit there and wait until it timed out. I
played this the second it went live, and no.
I was playing it yesterday.
Yeah,
there's still not enough people to match up with for races. So
either that or that feature's broken.
It's one or the other.
I don't know which one it is.
I mean, I'll say this. I don't see a lot of cars driving around my world.
No.
It seems like 3 or 4 at a time.
A couple times I've thought I was offline or something. I checked, but I wasn't. There's just no cars around, which is, I mean, and they've done this in other Need for Speed games, like Rivals in particular. You had people driving all over the place. I mean, you never really interacted with them much.
Yeah, they were there.
But they were there running around the world. This is a very empty world in terms of that.
Not in a lot of terms, actually.
In a lot of terms, yeah. It takes place in a
Palm City.
It's Miami. It takes place in an alternate Miami, which has about 1/8 of the traffic and no people on the street.
No people.
There's no one in this city, day or night.
There are hardly any cars.
No, there's very, very little traffic.
It's like you're driving around this metropolitan area that's completely empty. It's like the world got nuked and you're just left with your tuner car.
Nothing survived except roads, cars, and neon.
Yeah, neon, man. I'll say this: the lighting in this game is awesome.
Yeah, it looks good. I mean, it kind of captures that underground feel.
Yeah,
basically it's pro street during the day and underground, and it's pro in the streets and underground in the sheets.
Yeah,
is pretty much what you're looking at.
That's
here.
true. One cool feature about this game, though, is that you can flip day or night anytime you want.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty cool effect if you ignore the load time.
Right. But and the reason is because of what Matt just said. You basically have two goals. You have one goal to raise money, so you can use that money to buy new cars and fill out your garage. And then your other goal is to build your rep, which actually builds your levels. Mm-hmm. And that is what gates most of the game. As far as like the campaign, if you want to move forward in the campaign, you need to have X number of rep level.
Yeah, I mean, you also have to have a certain level of car, but you're going to get that anyway.
Yeah.
Like just with the parts you win or like basic
or
upgrades you buy. I mean, or buying a better car. Like I've never had to actually actively try to get my car to the level needed for the next story mission. It's already been there.
I had to.
My rep, I've had to get up there, but
my rep. So like I think it's like
I mean the car level. Like
the car level's always fine. Rep level,
car's always ahead of where you need to be, pretty much.
Yeah. So the game, like you start out, and it starts out like any other campaign. You finish a race, and then you generally have whatever you need to start the next one, and then you get to like the third chapter of the campaign. And I think my level was like rep level 3, and I needed rep level 7 to participate in the next race in the campaign. So I had to go back and grind and race the same races over and over and over again until I got my rep to level 7 so I could keep going in the campaign.
Yeah, I got up there. I think when that happened, I was like rep 5. And I went and did daytime races because the trick is there's day challenges and night challenges. And you're getting rep at night and you're getting money in the day. But the daytime challenges give you rep when you complete them, and the night challenges give you money when you complete them.
Yep.
Or bank, as they insist on calling it. And so I was doing the day challenges, and I had a glitch where I did it, and then it didn't count. It gave me the rep, but it said the challenges weren't complete, so I had to do it again. And then with that, the double challenge rep, I got up to 7, and I was good. I didn't even have to do any night races.
Oh, interesting.
So it was weird. The game is
After that,
blatantly unfinished.
Once I got my first car, the game was easy. So it was just that starter car, getting it up to the speed that you need it to be. Once I bought my first car with my own choice, pretty much, the game became really easy.
Yeah, well, that happened before I even did that, because I'd done enough daytime races with challenges to make a fair amount of money, so I just bought an RX-7.
Yeah.
So I'm like, screw it.
Why not?
So I bought an RX-7 and put a couple upgrades on it, and it's still my car.
Yeah.
Like, it's really... That's the thing. The races are super easy. The cops are monsters.
I didn't find the races that easy, honestly, at first.
I don't think I've ever lost one.
Really? I couldn't win at first.
I've lapped guys
really?
in those races.
I couldn't win at first. The best I could do is
the
second place.
starter car, the first couple races, I don't think you're supposed to win. But as soon as you get out there and you're making the money and the rep and all that stuff, like past the kind of opening like story missions, like no one's ever come close to touching.
Yeah. Like I said, after I bought my first car, the whole game became a cakewalk.
But like it
took me a
but then
while.
the cops are so heavily rubber banded.
Oh god.
That like there's no way.
There are cop chases in this, which is good.
At
I
night.
think a lot of people.
And okay, so
that.
here's the cutscene with look at how this guy's badge is not attached to the character model.
Yeah, it's floating
like the badge
off of
is
his
just floating
chest.
off his chest, dancing around. Like this is such a janky game.
Yeah.
In so
I
many
mean, I've
ways.
seen worse, but
I've seen
it has
worse,
problems.
but it's just. It's like you really feel like you wanted to nail this because it's again yet another attempt to make this series take off again. Yeah. I don't know why Need for Speed gets infinite lives with EA and everything else gets thrown in a pit in the back of the company, like after one slight disappointment. But like Need for Speed is made of Teflon, and no matter how much garbage they throw at it, apparently it's never going to go away. Even though I'd rather have a Burnout game any day. But
at this point, they're definitely throwing good money after bad.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's just stuff like the character models all bounce around and they're weird. The cutscenes on Xbox One X tank the frame rate constantly. I'm talking about 15 frames a second a lot of times.
Now, that didn't happen on PS4
And then the
Pro.
gameplay runs fine. But the cutscenes themselves are terrible in terms of like frame rate and running well. When you win a race, it shows you standing next to your car and celebrating or taking a selfie or whatever. And as the other cars finish, the cars that finish just materialize and drop in next to you in the winner's circle. I mean, it's like it's just full of, and it's like if you've played enough Frostbite 2 games, you recognize these errors.
Issues.
Like they're regular problems in Frostbite.
They're
games.
engine-wide issues.
Yeah, and it's just it feels very unpolished and very rough. It's not. It feels.
It doesn't
very
feel
unfinished.
done.
No,
and I'll get to other reasons why it feels like it's not finished. We should probably explain the story, although people know it already.
It's the Need for Speed story.
Yeah, it's the Fast and the Furious story. You're a hotshot driver. You come to a new city. You don't know anybody.
Yeah, well, it's Fast and the
Furious. You
meet
somebody.
Minus the twist of Brian being an FBI agent.
Right.
It's just he's just if he was just a guy.
Yeah.
Then it would be And the cops in the city are like dedicated to stopping street races.
Yeah.
Like that's the whole thing. But the thing that I think is really hilarious is because they didn't EA didn't want to go too hardline with the cops being militaristic monsters. They made sure that the whole police force is extremely diverse.
Oh yeah.
Like all the cops are of greatly varying ethnicities and diversities and gender identity. Like the police force in Need for Speed Heat is going to make an Assassin's Creed game any moment. Like it's very funny.
You also have some cops who are actually good, trying to stop the bad.
Yeah,
cops
like the woman, the female cop in that scene you just saw. Like she's trying to say like, what the hell are you guys doing?
Yeah.
So there is disagreement in the ranks, but the guy who the big old baby boomer white guy who leads the police force is the guy calling the shots, and he's the one that hates street racers. So, like in that scene, he wants to shoot the street racer.
He was trying to kill the street racer.
He wanted to shoot the street. Like, he turns the security camera off in the cruiser,
right.
And he's going to shoot him until she stops him.
Right.
And so that's the kind of police force you're up against here. Which I mean, they do drive like that.
Yeah.
But the problem is the rubber banding is just like the cops teleport to where they need to be to like screw you up.
I mean, it's in the whole game, honestly. Like,
through there, but
if you make one mistake, like I said, when I had kind of the underpowered car, if you made one mistake around a turn, you get passed by like 3 guys.
I mean, I can catch up pretty well with like random guys, but there's like certain races you do where like named characters are in the race, and if you get passed by one of them, forget it.
You'll never catch him.
You'll never catch Dex again
Yeah.
if he gets past you. And so, but then like sometimes you'll do a retry of that race, and like
they get crashed in the first
turn.
turn.
I mean, they are not on rails.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
They can get screwed
up.
up.
They're trying to actually navigate the track.
But sometimes, like, and there's moments where it's just like, what? Like, you can't accelerate that fast in that car. Like, I know what you're driving, and that car can't do that. But
yeah.
It's very...
It's got a turbo cow. It's got nitrous cow.
NOS.
It's got NOS cow. So here's the thing. It's an open world racer, just like Forza Horizon.
And it's really trying to be Forza Horizon.
It really does. The one thing I'll say is you can drive anywhere. Like, you can take any car you own, and you can drive it across country. You don't have to stay on the roads. But when you do that,
you'll find that's a mistake.
Oh, the game just basically buckles. Everything, like the resolution drops down. All the foliage just turns into this pixelated mess. Yeah, like, you can do it.
Yeah, it makes me wonder how late in the game that was added. They decided we need to make you be able. You need to be able to drive anywhere like in Horizon.
Because you do eventually get trucks and other cars.
And you can tune the car to be off road more than street and stuff. But like, why would you?
Yeah. So it's in an open world, but there is absolutely nothing to do.
No.
Nothing. There's no events. There are billboards that you can like drive through.
This is the only time you see people.
Yeah.
Like at the
start.
And the same 2 people walk past your car at the start of every race.
Yeah.
It's this one guy and this one girl who like kind of stroll past your car and go, "Ooh, look at the car." And like that. And sometimes when it cuts back to the other angle during that, because that's the part where it's like the beginning of a Forza race where you're like revving your engine in real time, and they'll just sort of like blink out of existence sometimes. And then so like in a Forza race, you're revving the engine, and then it goes to the countdown 3, 2, 1, and you start. In this, you're revving the engine, and then there's like a weird like freeze/load screen, and then it roughly transitions like with a weird wipe to the 3, 2, 1, and so like none of that feels coherent. It's like presentationally, this game is a disaster.
It's not a very pretty game. Even when it's not buckling and you're driving across country, it's just I mean, you can see.
It's
just
fine.
Lots of reused textures and lots of copy and paste.
The whole city pretty much looks the same everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, there's not a lot
And it's
of
Miami.
variant.
It shouldn't look that way.
Although I
at
do
all.
like that the clothing moves independent of the characters' bodies.
I mean, I'll say this: the cinematics in this are better than they've been in the last couple Need for Speed
But you can even
games.
see here, like, as it cuts back and forth, sometimes you'll see the characters like get dropped into the scene.
Yeah.
You know, it's that frostbite thing. Like, your characters sort of like so you see the physics like reset on their hair and clothing pretty regularly.
Yeah.
It's just rough.
There's nothing to do. That's the biggest problem for this game. There's your typical sprints and like point A to point B races, but like
and there's like the force, like the speed traps where you have to go this fast to get a thing and like knock a billboard over, and like you're supposed to collect graffiti.
I didn't even see that.
There's graffiti like where you go up and you collect it, and if you collect everything in an area, they give you like a new wrap or something.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
So, like, there is like open world collectible stuff, but it's A, not very useful or interesting, and B, like it's such a half-assed rip of Forza, and like none of it's as satisfying for some reason.
Not even
like,
close.
It's just the progression is not really there.
The cars don't feel as good. They don't sound as good. There's 127 cars, I think,
Something
in
like
the
that.
base game.
But not mine.
Yeah.
They don't have my car.
They
have
do-
your car.
They have mine, yeah. My car's in every video.
Mine's
game.
usually in it, but there's only 2 Audis in this.
There's
game.
no TT.
There's no TT.
That is weird. That'll be coming as DLC, guaranteed.
I think there's an A6 and an A10.
Interesting.
That's it.
Huh. TT's in everything. And it's usually like
You
a
think,
starter car
yeah.
in most games. I think it was a starter car in Forza Horizon 4, wasn't it?
It's starter like first round of
That's what I
upgrades.
thought.
That's why I like it, because I can always get it early and drive around in my car, and that wasn't in this one.
Yep.
So I picked an RX-7 because I like rotaries.
Yeah, so if you own an Xbox, this game's completely off the table. Just go, if you haven't already, buy Forza Horizon 4. I don't know why you wouldn't. It's the best
Or just
racing
get Game Pass and download whatever Forza is there.
whichever one you like.
I think 3's available on Game Pass.
Now, the question's a little different on PS4 because it doesn't really have that seminal street racer yet. And we've been talking about it. We're like, if somebody could come in and fill that void on PlayStation, you might have something.
And Drive Club got taken down.
Yeah. So is this it, though?
I mean, I don't know. Like, if you...
It's serviceable.
I guess, but it's like if you can't... It feels like, I don't know, you want a steak but going to Sizzler instead. You know, it's like it's not really...
That's a good analogy.
It's not, you know, yes, it is a steak and it is meat, but
Technically.
is it what was in your head when you were originally picturing going to like Ruth's Chris?
And getting a good steak? No, it's not. Yeah. Yeah, I have problems recommending this game to anyone.
I would absolutely not.
Yeah.
And in fact, I haven't looked because I haven't gone, but I think I've played, I think I played more than 2 hours. I was really thinking about refunding it on Xbox.
Oh, have you ran out of your time already?
I think I might. I got to check. I don't know if I really played this more than 2 hours. It was not a...
I definitely did.
It was not a... It didn't hold my attention that much.
Because it was rough at first, and then, well, like I said, once I got my first decent car, it started becoming at least fun a little bit. But again...
You can see the cutscenes stuttering here a little bit.
Yeah. But again...
For no reason.
It's like, if you look at the map on Forza Horizon, it is just littered with stuff. Like, even when you're just driving around, like, you're accidentally completing stuff sometimes because of the speed traps. Mm-hmm. This game has a lot of that stuff, but they're not as densely populated.
And they're also
map.
like they're weirdly out of the way. Like on Forza Horizon, like sometimes you'll see the billboards or the signs you have to break or whatever, and they'll just be off to this. You can kind of swerve over and hit it while you're doing something else, or whatever. And like this one, you have to like go out of your way, find where the ramp to hit the billboard is, like wind up, like fly. Also, like. And I know you can't rip everything off completely, but the fact that you're always earning like kudos, you know, or whatever they call the Horizon points in Horizon, like everything you're doing is earning you some kind of weird progression thing. It's just constantly filling the bar like a Skinner box.
Yep.
It's cheap, but it works. And this doesn't have anything like that. There's no rewards for good drifts. There's like the challenges will reward you for stuff, but they're infrequent and specific, and there's no real incentive to drive cool like Forza gives you.
I also just decided to drive all the way across the map, at least the map that's available now. Like, you can tell there's going to be a lot more that they're probably going to unlock in DLC, but
also like there's no reason to use fake handheld cameras in cutscenes in video games.
No.
Stop.
Well, you mean
Stop
like putting the
that.
whole RE, like the wreck thing on the screen? And
well, no, I mean like that scene is shot like it's like someone's holding the camera, and it's like don't do that.
That's what happens when you have Hollywood people coming in to help with video
like that.
games.
I mean, that's kind of useful if you're like in a battle scene. You want to add, like just like two people talking. Like you're not adding anything by making it look like you shot it on a boat.
Yeah.
And I say that as someone who was part of the launch of X-Play, in which we had a camera specifically to do that.
Yeah.
Because that was cool.
Yeah. Not so much anymore.
Not so much then.
I mean, handheld is how they shoot. It was a handheld.
It was a handheld black and white camera.
Yeah.
This is like. I mean, that scene doesn't gain anything by having it hand. Like, what am I supposed to think of that? Like, I'm just trying to pay attention to
They're
people
just trying
talking.
to make it look like a movie.
They're trying to make it look like, oh, like someone was there. It's a
Yeah.
YouTube video. It's real. Verisimilitude.
Yeah.
How you doing, fellow kids?
The game does have tons of car customization, and as you're seeing right now, character customization. There are, 4 primary categories for car upgrades? And then within each one of those, there's like a handful of different options.
And then there's a ton of options for each of those. I mean, there's a lot of customization. You can swap engines in and out. Like there's
one thing I thought was cool was like whenever I was messing around with like the suspensions, you could see the car's stance change in real time.
Yeah, I mean that part is pretty good. Like
Yeah.
they're on point with that. I felt like you had a good amount of customization over the car, and that it changed how the car drives.
Yeah.
So that's all there.
The car ratings are odd because like they're very low numbers. So like when you first get your first car, like most of its ratings are like 1.1 or 1.2.
Yeah.
So the upgrades, when you first see them, it's like, oh, this will take you up a tenth. You're like, well, I don't want to spend $10,000 on something that brings me up a tenth. But then you look, you're like, oh, that actually matters because the numbers are
like
so
also
low.
like because you have those, but then you have a total rating for each car. So it's like like it's a 144,
you have a car score
153.
essentially.
And I got a couple of cars just for like I don't know if they were pre-order things or if they were like here's another car for being an EA Origins or whatever. But there were a couple of them, and I was like okay, they're like I think they were Lancers or something. And I was like, I don't know if I'll look at them and see what they are. And like, they all had lower ratings in those, the 1.0, 2, like that, those ratings. They were lower than the car I was driving, but their total car rating was higher than the car I was driving. And I couldn't figure out why that was higher.
Probably because you had some parts that were from a higher class. Like they were sport parts probably.
Maybe, but like the stats weren't better.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at like the sport parts, they're still kind of on that lower scale. I'm wondering if they extrapolate that out to the car score in some way.
But it's weird to like hide those stats. Then.
It is. Yeah.
Like it's hard to make an informed decision when like okay,
you're right.
This car has no stat indication that it's better than what I'm driving, but the number is higher for its total ranking.
Yeah, where is that coming from?
So why is that there?
Yeah.
And I didn't want to waste the time of like getting in the other car and like seeing if I like.
I'll say this though: it seems like if your car has a better rating, it is a better car.
Seems like
but you're right. Like it doesn't explain why or how. Essentially,
I'm just so tired of this series.
I
love this series. I mean, if they do remasters, like they said they're doing more remasters, they do remasters of like 3 and Porsche Unleashed and stuff like that. They'll never be Porsche Unleashed. That license is a nightmare. But like, if they did that, I'd buy those in a heartbeat. I love those old games. But like, they peaked with this thing in terms of kind of the more like in terms of like the kind of car tuning thing. They peaked with the Undergrounds, and in terms of the open world stuff, they peaked with Rivals.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know why you keep trying over and over again. Like, it's just not there.
That's really my question about this game in general. Why does it exist? Like, there are so many games that are doing this same exact thing now. And look, I totally subscribe to the idea that competition is always good, and you need competition to make sure that you stay on point, you improve whatever you're doing.
But you also have to show up to compete.
Right.
And this series never does that. It's
always closer.
It's closer, but it still always feels like it's just like an also-ran. And the other thing is like it's weird that they keep hammering away at the car thing because I don't know if you've noticed, but statistics continually show that younger people like under 30 don't care about cars.
Yeah.
Don't care about owning a car.
Cars.
They don't even own cars.
Yeah.
Like.
They're living up in they're growing up in a rideshare world where they don't even think like I'll own a car someday.
Yeah, like I have a friend.
Whereas for me, when I was a kid, my goal was when I turned 16 to get a car.
Yeah, that's not a thing anymore for most people.
It's crazy.
And it's like I know like someone in their 20s and they had a car and it got destroyed by a guy who ran a red when they were turning left and haven't replaced it.
Yeah.
Like it's been like 2 years.
You live in the city, very little reason.
Yeah, they're just like, I take a lift if I need to go somewhere, but mostly that's it. Like they don't need it. And
so you're right. This stuff is even less relevant now. Yeah. So again, why does this game exist?
Well, I mean, it exists probably because the people who are our age or older who think this is cool, or this is like the cool young thing, keep greenlighting it.
Yeah.
But it's just out of touch. Like that's the thing, is the whole thing feels out of touch at this point.
Yeah. It feels like a racing game I played 6 years ago, 7 years ago. Got the same story, the same progression system.
Like, you'd kind of be on
There's nothing unique about it.
Like, you'd be competitive here if this was like coming out at the same time as Forza Horizon 1.
Yeah.
But like
that's about where it is. You're right. That's a good analogy. Yeah.
But it feels real archaic by today's standards.
Yeah. Do you think they're going to make another one of these?
Yes, I think they're going to make them till we die. Like, I mean,
at a certain point,
or until someone with some like youth and sense gets in a decision-making position at EA. Like, I don't know why this. Again, I don't know why. If you want to keep making Need for Speeds, fine. But why does no other series get a chance if they stumble at once? And this thing has had bomb after bomb after bomb, and it just keeps coming back. Is it because the car manufacturers pay them licensing, or do they buy the licensing fees?
They have to pay for the licensing.
Yeah, so it's not like it's an automatic like win for them in terms of like marketing placement or something. I don't get it.
I will say one thing. So
maybe the shareholders are easy to impress with a car, like they like BMWs or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll say one thing. So when my car was stolen at E3, a colleague in the industry, I don't think you know him, reached out to me and he was like, "Hey, I also have the same car as you, and I'm in a group on Facebook for just that car." And he's like, they're crazy psycho about the car. They will help you find your car. So he's like, go join the group. I'm going to introduce you, and I'll tell them what happened, and they'll help you find the car. And I was like, okay. So I joined the group on Facebook. I told him, I'm like, hey, I just joined. And he went in, and he's like, hey, this is Shane. His car was just stolen. This is what his car looks like. Keep an eye out for it. And look, nothing ever materialized out of that, whatever. So find my car like later that day. And so the rest of that was kind of moot, but I was still a part of that Facebook group and getting constant notifications. And I will say this. There are people out there that are psycho obsessed with this stuff.
Oh, I know.
I mean, psycho. Like,
But they're pretty old, aren't they?
No, they're all 19 to 25-year-old kids who have bought my car and then invested more in parts than the car is worth into the car. And there are just tens of thousands. I had to leave the group because I kept getting these hey, this is my 4th catback exhaust. What do you guys think of this one? If you don't like it, I'll saw the tips off and blah, blah. It's like, it opened a whole new world to me that I did not know existed of people who buy cars and become it was like Christine. Just completely and hopelessly obsessed with them. So I think there's an audience. My guess is in America, there's probably like 3 million of those people.
Maybe, but I don't think you're going to get, like, it's hard. I don't think you're going to please that audience with this.
Probably not.
There's not enough customization.
Yeah.
Like, there's enough for me, but, like, yeah.
They need, like, 20 different catback exhausts.
And they all need to be licensed, and you have to be able to modify. You have to be able to modify them yourself in addition, like, aftermarket. Like there's...
And paint them and all that stuff.
If you want it, and like, but I just don't see the amount of money it would cost to make a game that would appeal properly to that demographic is more than you would make if everyone in that demographic bought it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why. I don't know.
I also think that
EA has so many properties and IPs they could use.
You're right.
And they just keep going back to this one like I don't know, like a beaten dog. Like, it's sad at this point. Like, I almost want them to have a huge hit on their hands with a Need for Speed game so they can stop doing this to themselves.
I think, look, the law of diminishing returns applies to pretty much every video game genre. If you keep making it, it becomes harder and harder to make a game that's more unique and innovative and different. Mm-hmm. I feel like this genre in particular is really bad for that because there's only so much you can do. Right. It's cars on roads.
But that's kind of like my thing where I say, like, innovation isn't as important to me as execution.
Yeah.
Just make a really good Hot Pursuit game.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need a stupid story. I don't need an open world. I don't need, like, all this, like, progression shit. If you just give me, like, maybe it can be cost less if it doesn't cost as much to make. Just do what was it? Hot Pursuit, High Stakes, Most Wanted, all those old PS1 era games. Like, just do that.
I think one thing we found with the racing genre is that once it went open world, everyone just assumed it had to be open world. Yeah. And that having sort of these better designed, more curated races that, in all honesty, are often way more fun, they're too concerned about checking that open world box. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're able to... And I think that's something that's missing in racing games these days, is that each event isn't something that was poured over by the developer, so that they've tweaked every turn, They've set up every obstacle. They've set up the AI so that it's fun when you race it.
Yeah,
now with open world, it's like random. It's
the best Need for Speed races in the series history, like individual races, have always been handcrafted point to point.
Yeah.
Every single time.
Yep.
Like, all those were the best. The Need for Speed at its best is a handcrafted, non-open world, point-to-point race.
And when you have this open world, it's like you're basically just setting a start point and an end point. You're not looking at every piece of that track.
You're sort of hoping that section of the world works.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's what we're losing in racing games today. Like, everything going open world doesn't work for every genre. Like, it just doesn't. And in my opinion, it hasn't worked that great for racing games. So somebody may nail it. I mean, Forza Horizon 4, pretty damn good. It's pretty close to the
I love the Horizon games, but it's like I only need one of those every couple of years.
Like every generation, I only need one. And so this game's just kind of piling onto that. And again, obviously, you can only play that game on Xbox and PC. So someone needs to kind of fill the void on PlayStation. But look, you've already got Gran Turismo, who's going to take... No matter how bad Gran Turismo is, it's going to take half of your driving audience for your platform right away. There's just that trust in that brand. So then you're left with, okay, the other half that didn't buy GT, what do we do with them? And that's what this game is kind of trying to cater to. But it's just not good enough. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. It's just not good enough.
No, and I don't think it ever will be.
I would never go that far, but... If they keep working with the same teams, which they do, keep working with the same teams on this.
Well, not even that, because clearly the team. I mean, Ghost Games can make the racing work. Like the racing in this, the car handling, all that. It's all solid. It's all there.
Yeah.
It's just, I feel like it's the bosses demanding all these open world bells and whistles and a story and all this. And you got to have motion capture. You got to have all that. And it's just like. That's the problem. I feel like this is executive meddling more than like a developer that can't make what they want to make. Because I think they can make what they want. They can make a really good racing game, but like everything around it is getting in its way.
Yeah. One thing I should mention, and we should mention, is that there are no evil microtransactions in this game.
That's true.
And that is a big deal for this franchise in particular because it has been flagged as a worst offender right up there with the NBA 2K franchise.
Yeah, it's lucky it came out alongside Battlefront 2 that year because nobody
noticed. It took away a lot of the heat. Yeah, it did. Yeah. So this game actually, I have a feeling probably eventually we'll pay for cars or whatever, but as it is right now, at launch, there's no evil microtransactions. So that is one thing where they did listen to the fans and they did make changes for the better. But again, I just struggle to tell anyone why they should pay $60 for this game. I can't in good conscience tell someone to do it.
No. I mean, pick it up for $5.99.
And it will be. And in fact, I think already I saw it for sale for like $40.
Yeah, this thing's going to drop fast.
We talk all the time about how Nintendo games never drop. These types of games drop very quickly and very drastically. So this will absolutely be tossed in with like the Black Friday stuff where it's like buy one, get one free, or buy two, get one free, buy two, get one at half price. This is the type of game that's going to be in those deals.
Yeah, and also, like, I mean, I think there was a bundle like a month or two so ago on like Xbox Live and I think also on PSN, but you could get the last 3 Need for Speed games for $20 with all the DLC included.
Yeah.
Like, just if you're actually mildly interested, just wait. You'll be able to get this for like the cost of a sandwich.
Or if you own an Xbox One, just buy Forza Horizon 4.
Yeah, if you have an Xbox, there's no reason to play this ever.
And you can probably get that for a little cheaper at this point too. I'm not 100% sure on that. I haven't seen a lot of deals for it, but even at $60,
like going into Black Friday and Christmas season, there will be at least moderate. You'll be able to get Forza Horizon 4 for a moderate discount at least.
If you don't have it already, I would really recommend that as like something to put on your Christmas list.
Yeah. And if you've already played Forza Horizon 4, just play it again.
Yeah.
don't play this.
And that's the problem. There's nothing in this game that you're not getting somewhere else, and you're not getting it somewhere else where it's better.
Yeah.
That's the problem. It has no USP.
Because Need for Speed has no personality anymore. Like
because it started it, and everyone else took it and ran with it, and now it's just like
But that's why I say,
has been.
Do really good, self-contained, handcrafted point-to-point races in a big progression with like they did with the original series when the original ones came out on PS1. No one else is doing that.
Yeah.
Like there's your niche.
Yep.
Like someone who wants an arcade racer that's really well crafted and really well designed.
It's a throwback.
Yeah.
Like they should call it like Need for Speed Throwback.
Yeah.
You remember when racing games were fun?
Need for Speed Retro. Need for Speed anything. Like
I honestly could see Rockstar doing something like that with Midnight Club.
Yeah, like do something
because Rockstar is just like, we don't give a F.
We don't give a shit. Yeah, and like you do that. Like set it like hard in the 90s.
Oh yeah.
Like going hard on the 90s nostalgia. Have it be all 90s era cars, and everything is very 90s oriented and like has the 90s style, and just call it Need for Speed Nostalgia or Need for
Throwback
Speed Throwback or Need for Speed Flashback.
Yeah,
something like that. Like anything like that, and because 90s is getting hot, because that's how old we are now, and like license a crazy fucking star-studded 90s soundtrack. You know, like that would sell. I think that would sell.
I agree. But Need for Speed Heat will not.
No.
So there you go. That's Need for Speed Heat. It's available for PC, PS4, Xbox One, but don't remember that because we don't want you to buy.
Don't bother.
Yeah, don't bother. All right, we're gonna move on.
Don't even buy a Switch version if they make one. They won't.
They might.
EA didn't make Switch
They might
versions.
do that to recoup some of the money because there really is no good street race.
Have they gotten anything Frostbite running on that though?
I don't think so.
I don't know if they can even do that.
It'd be hard. Yeah. But there is a window there because there's not a good driving sim or a good street racing game on Switch.
Need for Speed, please kill me.
All right, let's move on. We're going to talk next about Google Stadia, and that's because it is about to launch. Finally, after all the talk, all the discussion, it launches 7 days from today. So
it is.
Yep. So next Tuesday, it will be available.
I gotta admit, I never would have remembered this if you hadn't brought it up on this show.
My job. I'm the producer of the show. I have to remember this stuff and make sure that we talk about it.
This thing, like, mind share isn't zero, really.
Well, for you.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. The Founders Edition sold out.
Yeah, I saw that. And I saw.
Do you think that they just made like 10 of them so they could say that they sold out?
I mean, it's probably not. They didn't make that many, but I did see this where they're shipping out the Founders Editions and the starter kits, which are separate SKUs. Yeah. They're shipping them out as they get them from the factories, and the Founders Editions are getting there later than the starter. So there's a good chance
you may not get it for 2 weeks.
You may not get the Founders Edition on launch day for paying $130 for it.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So as Matt said, the Founders Edition is $130. You can't really buy it anymore. They say it's sold out, which I don't believe. I'll just be honest. But it's $130 for the hardware starter kit. You get 3 months of premium service. After that, you have to pay the $10 a month and to play Destiny 2. Mm-hmm. That's basically the only game right now that's kind of a part of that $10 a month tier. Now, Stadia has gone above and beyond to explain that it does not want to be known as the Netflix of games. It does not want to be known as a rental service. It wants to be known as a portal, just like Steam or PlayStation Network or Xbox Live, where you expect to buy games digitally at full price.
Well, that's too bad because that's not what you are.
Right. I mean, I don't think anybody, when they first heard about Stadia, was like, that's the ideal scenario that I want for this.
Why would you pay $60 for something that can go away in a second? I mean, that's not true. I mean, people can fearmonger about that with like Steam or whatever as much as they want, but the fact is you can install those games and play them offline, and even if Steam went away, you would still have it.
Yep.
And that is not the case here.
You're paying for a license to
and there
play
is
the
a
game.
way to maybe make that acceptable, but part of making that acceptable is not charging you the same amount of money as someone who is letting you have the game locally. Like, that is ridiculous. It should be a Netflix system.
So the Founders Edition does have one perk that probably isn't worth waiting 2 weeks for. You get a dark blue Stadia controller that only comes with the Founders Edition, and no one will ever be able to
on it or something.
Yeah, it does. And no one will ever be able to buy it. They say they're never going to sell that color.
I have a controller like that. It's for the Ouya.
Oh.
and I suspect it's just as useful as this will be in a couple of years.
Well, I have the Xbox One Day 1 edition. If you remember, those controllers had a special screen print on them. I think they were numbered, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, they were numbered.
That controller broke literally in like a year.
That controller was the one that broke like a month in, and I sent it back, and they sent it back for repair, and then they sent it back to me, and it still didn't work, and I put it on the couch and went to play with another controller. It caught on fire, right? I kicked it to get it out of the way because I decided to stretch out on the couch, and it was hot. And it was not on. There were no lights on it. It wouldn't connect to the Xbox, but it was circulating power through the battery. The battery was shorting out, and if I hadn't kicked it, who knows what would have happened.
It would have caught on fire, probably.
Blown up or something.
Yeah.
They sent me a time bomb, basically.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm not so caught up about that. Some people care about that stuff, but now that controller to me is worthless.
Honestly, I think that experience broke me of any need for a special day one controller of anything ever. That plus the Ouya. I mean, I was dumb enough to back the Ouya. I don't know why I did that, but like it was kind
of like the hot thing to try out crowdfunding.
It was the early days of Kickstarter. Yeah. It was just like, oh, that's maybe this is a thing. Cool. It's like, nope.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, I think, learn a valuable lesson with
Ouya. Horrible mobile game dumping ground for garbage, and now I have a Switch for that, so it's okay.
That's pretty funny. So these kits come with a Chromecast Ultra to plug into your TV and the limited edition dark blue controller. Stadia is saying that if you bought that stuff separately, it would retail for $140, and they're selling it for $130.
Except you're the one who chooses the price on that, so...
Right.
What?
Yeah, exactly. So they're trying to say you're getting a $10 deal by buying the stuff instead of buying it a la carte.
You know what's a better deal? Not buying
it at all. So they've promoted this thing as, any platform, anywhere. The only phone that's going to work with Google Stadia at launch is Google's Pixel phones. Surprise, surprise. Mm-hmm. Other phones, they're saying, coming on whenever they can get them online. You cannot play games on your cellular plan. So you have to play them either by Wi-Fi or hardwired if you're playing it as a console.
I like that the cloud logo. That just looks like a cigarette.
It does.
Smoking to me.
That's true. So yeah, you're buying cloud-based games for full price. You're not renting them. The Premier Edition is still available while the Founders Edition is sold out. So you can't get the blue controller anymore, but you can get basically the same package minus the controller for the same price.
Or you could just use your own controller and try it for free when it goes up whenever and
so see how it works. That will only work if you're playing on PC.
Right.
And it has to be plugged in. So at launch, they're also not going to have the Wi-Fi capability for controllers where it can read any controller and play wirelessly. The only way you're going to be able to play wirelessly at launch...
plugged into the computer.
Right. Or if you're using the Stadia controller.
It's almost like it's not ready.
It's not ready. It's not at all. And if you need further proof of the fact that it's not ready, at launch, there are only going to be 12 games.
Wow.
And I have a list of the games here. I'll read through them very quickly.
If none of them are Jade Raymond's game, I don't care.
They're not. So listen to these and tell me if anywhere in here you hear a killer app or something that would convince you that you need to jump in with Stadia. Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Destiny 2, The Collection, basically all of Destiny 2, Guilt, Just Dance 2020, Kine, Mortal Kombat 11, Red Dead 2, Rise of the Tomb Raider, Samurai Showdown, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Thumper, and Tomb Raider Definitive Edition.
Thumper. They're gonna play Thumper on stream. Okay.
Yeah, it's a music and rhythm game.
There's a test for your.
That's them showing maybe that they have faith. I guess. I don't know. Is there anything in that list I just read that would convince you to spend $130?
Well, no, because I own all of them already.
Right. Everybody does.
Yeah. If I care about them, I own them, or I played them at least.
Yeah. So there's no killer app for this.
No.
What? Why would somebody? Why did anybody buy the Founders Edition?
I don't know. I honestly have no idea. I don't know why you do. I mean, until you see this thing running properly and working properly, why would you throw any money at it at all?
Yeah, because we've never seen it in the wild. Every time we've seen Stadia, Google has been controlling the demo.
I mean, for God's sake, Disney Plus went down this morning.
Yeah.
Like if that's just a streaming service, what's this thing going to do?
I'm sure
it's probably not going to go down because too many people are using it, let's be honest. But like, it's a new kind of tech, it's a new kind of idea, and it's a thing that is unproven, and I'm absolutely sitting back and waiting to try it for free until I even think about it. I mean, also I'm not interested in it, but like, I'll try it because I assume we're gonna have to talk about it at some point. If I wasn't on this show, I would never touch this.
Yeah.
At least if Jade Raymond's game comes out in however, I mean, it sounds like it might be years at this point.
Well, she did, so that's another thing. But she did say over the last week that, yes, the big game that she's working on won't be here for a couple years, but once they get over that 18-month mark, they will have games regularly coming from their studios.
All right, so it sounds like maybe you should have launched it 18 months from now.
And look, we hear a lot of BS in the games industry. One person I do trust and believe is Jade Raymond.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, as much as I think this is a non-starter, ridiculous thing, I think, as I've said before, I think it's a solution in search of a problem. Like, no one needs this. It only concentrates more leverage and more power in the hands of the corporate.
I'll before it goes away, this functionality not there at launch.
Right.
So all the YouTube cool stuff where people could watch you play and then join you, not going to be there at launch.
Of course
either.
not. But like, again, like if Jade Raymond makes a game that looks interesting, I will play anything she makes.
Yeah, for sure.
So
I'll be patient.
I can't promise I'd subscribe for it, but if you can play it for free, if that's the only way to play that game, maybe. It depends what it is, but I've liked pretty much everything she's ever worked on. So
yeah,
like I'm not saying never, but I am saying probably 2021.
Yeah. So there are 12 games at launch. Google is promising 14 more by end of year. So by the end of this year, you'll have 26 games available to play. If you haven't owned any consoles for the last 5 to 7 years, then there's value. I don't know how many of those people are still out there.
But then why do you even know what this is?
Why do you know what it is? Why are you willing to spend $130 on something that's just a controller and a dongle when you can spend an extra $100 and get a PS4? Mm-hmm. And then you start saying, well, you get the first 3 months free. Then you got to start paying $10 a month after that.
I'm annoyed enough when my internet goes down briefly and I don't have access to online features in a game, let alone access to the game.
I know. Obviously a big get for them with Cyberpunk, but that game's not coming out till next year.
No.
If
you think I'm playing that on streaming, you are out of your damn mind.
Right. Well, here's the other thing, though, is it's actually timed pretty well because it appears that when Cyberpunk goes online on Stadia, that's also when Stadia is going to launch the free tier in 2020 that's limited to 1080p, 60 frames per second, and stereo sound.
I'm sure that will run very smoothly.
It probably will.
I mean, like when you launch that and you make it free, everyone's going to try it.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be able to play Cyberpunk because it's going to go down.
It might get crunched.
Meanwhile, I'll see you on the Xbox One X, son.
Yeah. Now, on that free plan, you need 10 megabits per second of bandwidth to stream at 720p, and you need 20 megabits per second to stream at 1080p. Mm-hmm. That's fine.
That's not unreasonable.
Yeah,
in this day and age.
1080p is going to work fine for most people. 4K, 60 frames per second. One, I don't know why if you have data cap, don't do it because you'll go over your data cap in like 4 hours. But even if you don't have a data cap, I'll say one thing: no one's gonna be able to do anything else on your internet connection if you're playing Stadia.
I think I can probably do that. I get like 150, 200 usually. It's supposed to be 300, but like in reality, it's
that never happens.
If you have fiber, I'm sure it'll be fine. But it's like, again, like I'm not worried about that so much as the latency and the reliability. It's just it shuts your night down on that game if something goes wrong with their stuff.
Yeah, and that would drive me bonkers because I have to set aside specific time to play games because I have so much other stuff I have to do. I have to look at my schedule and be like, okay, Monday from noon until 2 a.m. That's I always play
And it's just, if I'm not going to get
that doesn't happen.
If I'm not going to get a financial break on these things, then I'm not going to do that. It doesn't give me any advantage, really. Maybe get nicer graphics or something for a little bit, but who cares if it means I don't get the game? And on top of that, it's just going to be it would end up being a thing that I'd play exclusives on, really, just like Nintendo hardware. It's just I would never buy a multi-platform thing for the Switch. I would only play Nintendo stuff I can only play on that system.
Yeah.
And like I said, I might come to Stadia for an exclusive Jade Raymond game or an exclusive whatever they have that I'm like, oh, that looks interesting.
And then in that case, you just subscribe for a month.
Subscribe for a month at best.
Yeah.
Because honestly, 1080p is probably good enough for me on most of that.
Yeah.
I might subscribe
I still game in 1080p.
I might subscribe for a month for a Jade game.
I would.
Just to play it in 4K.
And then bail.
But and that would be it. Yeah. But
so how do you think Stadia's going to do? Come next Tuesday, do you think there's going to be any buzz around it at all?
It would surprise me if it did. There's just nothing there. This is the softest of soft launches, really. The features.
All your hardware is not ready. All your features aren't ready.
You can't really judge it yet.
Your software is not ready.
You can't really judge it yet. So
I also remember this guy, by the way, who launched the PlayStation 3 and lied to me personally and to many other people about how the launch was going to go, whether the games were real. There was all this subterfuge going on with him at the PS3 launch. So I'll be honest, I just don't trust him. He lied to my face in person-to-person interviews. about about the bull shots that were in the PS3 debut for like Killzone and all that.
Yep.
He in Motorstorm. He lied to my face about that. So
I remember that.
So I
remember Sessler. I was at an interview where Sessler asked him about that. He got very mad.
Oh, I went after him. I was at DICE, and I asked him about it, and he got very confrontational. Yeah, because I told him, I'm like, I don't believe you.
Yeah, we were at GDC. I think probably like a month after you did that. It was probably at GDC, and he was like, "Why are you here just coming after me about?" And we want
That's my job, bro.
We want to know the truth about it.
I know it's hard for you to understand.
It's clearly not what's really happening. It was obvious by that DICE. It was obvious that was not what was happening.
Yeah, and he could have even told me, look, this wasn't my call. You're right. Like, these games don't look like this.
Right. I mean, clearly, especially
that
era of Sony,
he just lied.
It was just top-down orders from Japan.
Yeah.
You know, like, that was how it worked. I mean, this is the era of Sony where people are like, hey, when you press the square button on the PSP, it doesn't work because you made the screen too big. It overlaps the thing. And then Kutaragi gets out and says, we have made the most beautiful thing in the world. Please do not criticize it.
Yeah. I mean, here's
that
the
was
thing,
Sony
too.
then.
Here's the thing, too. He could have told me one thing on camera, and then when the interview is over, pulled me aside and said, off the record, this is what's going on. That happens.
Yeah.
Pretty regularly. And he could have done that. Like, I had known him for like 10 years at that point. Like, we knew each other. It wasn't like, who's this guy coming to interview me?
Yeah, it wasn't like some blog showed up and started asking gotchas.
Back then, there was only like 10 outlets, period. Yeah. Like, he knew me.
Especially that could get an interview with him.
Right. And he could have pulled me aside after we were done and been like, look, I can't say this on camera, but you're right. Like, we're not telling the truth about this stuff, blah, blah, blah. But he never did that. So my opinion of him is that he's sneaky. And he is willing to at least mislead people a little bit in the name of being successful with whatever business he's working with.
Yeah, I mean, that's sales, that's marketing, that's how it works. That's why I keep saying, like, don't believe anything they say about this thing until you have it. The free version is available and you can try it for yourself.
Yeah.
Like, don't put any money towards this at all until you see how the free version works. If anyone's signing up, because Google pulls the plug on shit all the time.
Even big stuff like this.
Even big. I mean, Google Glass.
I really don't.
When's the last time you heard anything about Google Glass?
Yeah, I know. I really don't think they'll pull the plug on this, though, because I think even if the whole Stadia gaming streaming thing doesn't work out, they still have a storefront where they can just sell PC games if they want to. So I think it'll always stick around in some form.
I mean, you'd think that about a lot of things they did, but they get rid of stuff.
That's true.
If they don't want things that looks like it's, bleh. It's I could see them giving it a couple years, and if it's not doing what they want it to do, it's not a bragging point, they can just slowly make it go away. And then you're going to lose all that money you spent on games on it.
Here's what I predict. I predict a major pivot for Stadia within the first 12 months of launch.
I don't see any other possible way. I mean, they're going to have to do something.
And I also predict that what PAX says they should be doing, and I believe they should be doing, which is letting people pay for the time that they spend with games like a rental. I also think that they'll eventually pivot to at least have that as an option. Mm-hmm. It may not be that's the only
thing
way.
That makes sense.
It is. It totally is. Like, and it's not even that hard to set the pricing for games. Like, you can look at how big is this game.
Not at all. I mean, the most obvious use of this tech and this setup is as a direct, more convenient competitor, Redbox.
It is.
Like, that's what it is.
That's its play. I mean, but they're not getting it. No. Like, setting this up as, hey, this is really just another console. Like, no, that's.
Well, because the reason that the publishers are interested is because of how much power it reconcentrates on their end.
Yeah.
They control everything in this situation. They control distribution. It eliminates piracy. That's why they're interested in it for Asia.
I'm also guessing they're getting a pretty good cut. Maybe not Epic Game Store good, but probably pretty good because Google needs them on board.
Yeah.
And they're going to give them a deal to try to get them involved.
But I still say it's not really for us. It's targeted at China. It's targeted at India. It's targeted at that part markets that they haven't been able to break into with physical hardware and physical software that would be easier to reach because the internet infrastructure is there.
Yeah, they haven't been able to play a lot of these games. So that list that I read off, there's people in China and India that are like, those are brand new to me.
For sure.
I've never had a chance to play those.
And I think that's
games.
where they're aiming. And like the population in both those areas is so huge that they
their economies are exploding.
Yeah, they could very well have a hit on their hands from those markets.
It's true.
And it doesn't matter what happens here.
It's true. Yeah. So there you go, Stadia.
I mean, we are really coming at, our criticisms of this really are coming at it from a position of North American privilege.
For sure.
So,
oh, yeah. Although I would argue that, we have worse bandwidth and, like, broadband than a lot of these countries. So in some ways, I think we're a little more realistic about it. Although we don't have data caps is prevalent as
Depending
a
on
lot
where
of
you
other
are,
countries.
yeah.
I mean, Europe
has a lot more data caps, yeah.
but it's starting to happen here. Comcast is probably the United States' biggest supplier of broadband is starting to.
That's the dream for
They're
the
already
telecoms.
testing data caps in like 5 markets right now, and testing is just their way of saying they're coming.
It's coming.
Because you test data caps, everyone's going to complain. There's no testing data caps. If you really test a data cap,
no one wants that.
Your test results are going to be miserable. Nobody's going to say, I love data caps.
Oh, finally, I don't get as much as I got before.
Yeah.
Like that's absolutely what I wanted.
Testing that stuff. It's like, this is us saying it's coming, and we're trying to shoehorn you into it, so it isn't a shock when we announce.
I mean, the plus side on that is that means that when and if that happens, whoever decides to not do that will win.
So Johnny Hurricane's saying he already has a data cap and he has to pay extra for unlimited.
It happens.
Yeah, I don't have a data cap on my
depends,
broadband. My phone does, though.
It depends because the
basically.
telecom companies have monopolies in district, regional monopolies. Same thing with the power company. That's why California kept getting their power cut off because of the fires.
There's only one company.
Because just PG&E, and PG&E used all the money that they were going to use to repair their infrastructure to pay out to shareholders and executives. So instead of fixing their shit, they're just turning things off so their power lines don't start any more fires, so they don't get sued again for tens of millions of dollars like happened last time.
Yep.
And that's what happens when you have unrestrained monopolistic capitalism.
That's true.
Which is funny in a state that's always accused of being too liberal, but here we are.
Yeah.
But that is basically similar to, obviously the telecom companies that provide internet are not going to start any fires probably, but that is what they want, and if they get what they want, you are stuck with that because if Comcast services you in the Bay Area, that's it. There are no alternatives unless you want to go dish. Satellite internet. Yeah,
in 10 years' time, I doubt anyone will be able to pay for broadband in America that's uncapped.
I think you will. It'll just be exorbitant.
You think in 10 years?
I think it'll just be an exorbitant fee.
Okay. You just mean you have to, like Johnny's saying,
you have to pay
more every month.
You can pay for unlimited, but you're going to be paying like a couple hundred, what they think is about a little bit more than the average fees people pay for going over the cap.
Right.
Like, okay, you want to just pay your fee now, basically?
Basically.
That's what that is.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have to do that because that's just how it is.
My cell phone, I've been with AT&T for like 12 years. And I have been on their unlimited plan the entire time. And I was grandfathered in. When they started eliminating the unlimited plans, I was grandfathered in, and I was supposed to keep getting it. Well, technically, I do still get an unlimited plan, except once I hit a certain threshold, they throttle me for the rest of the month. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, my phone won't stop working, but my phone, literally, and I hit that cap in like 2 weeks usually. So for the last 2 weeks of every month, my phone works like crap. That's basically where I'm at. And I'm paying unlimited. I pay like $120 some a month for my cell phone. Wow. Just me. And they still, after X number of gigs, they start throttling me. So everything is just headed that direction. And you're right. If you're looking down the pipeline at Stadia, it's going to be a problem. Mm-hmm. I don't know how prevalent caps are in
unless
other
they
countries,
intend to pair this with Google Fiber,
right?
If they want to resurrect that,
but they had kind of given up on Google Fiber already.
That's what I said.
Again, another initiative they gave.
They want to resurrect that initiative. And people say like, oh, I don't think they give up on Stadia after they put some. They were digging up the planet to put actual cables in the middle of they were digging shit up to put things in for fiber, and then they just stopped.
They gave up. Yeah.
Like they did most of Kentucky and then went home.
Yeah.
Basically.
Kentucky should be happy, though.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they'd never have internet like that. Thank you, Google.
So, yeah, like Google will abandon an enterprise if they think it's not.
Its long-term prospects aren't good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's that site that does all the dead thing. Looking through that is fascinating because there's all these things that I'd forgotten about.
That they didn't even announce.
Oh, at the time that was like everyone's like, oh, that's the next big. You remember when people thought Google Wave was going to be the next thing? Oh boy.
Yeah. They tried to launch a competitor to Facebook. They've tried everything, and they bailed on all of it. So
I still don't even know what Google Wave really was.
I don't either. I have no idea.
I think that was sort of it was like a Slack kind of thing.
Oh.
I don't know.
No clue. I don't even heard of it. So there you go. That's Google Stadia. It comes out in 7 days, exactly 7 days. If you want to jump in, it is $130. You can't get the Founders Edition, but you can get the other pre-release premium edition. You won't get the blue controller, but just don't. Yeah, really, at the end of it all, just don't.
Yeah, wait for next year when they do the free option and see how it works.
What's the earliest you think Google would ever pull the plug on this?
Like 2022.
Okay. So you think at the very least they'll give it a few
I think give
years.
it 2 years.
Yeah, that sounds about right. there you go. Google Stadia launching next Tuesday. Probably won't talk about it on the show, our impressions of it. It'll probably be the following week because it will have just launched. And there's no really early access. People were on a beta for Stadia, but they haven't really sent out like, hey, here's stuff for the press so people can play it early and have their reviews ready. We'll see. They haven't sent anything to us, at least. And we have been in touch with them, so I don't know. Maybe some reviews will start popping up, but chances are we won't be able to tackle it until episode after next, and we'll do that then. All right, let's move along. We're going to talk next about Sony Santa Monica. I don't know if there's a studio on the planet right now that I'm a bigger fan of than Sony Santa Monica.
Yeah, they're up there.
For those of you guys who don't know, they created the latest God of War reboot. In my opinion, one of the best games of this generation. Definitely my game of the year for the year it came out.
Last year.
Yep. And the official Twitter account for Sony Santa Monica has been posting some pretty interesting stuff over the last week. Cory Barlog kind of kicked things off with this cryptic Morse code-like tweet. He changed all the profile images for his social media to images of like space stations and things like that. And then the Morse code that he tweeted out was something SIE, like 55U SSIE. So people are assuming that that's like Sony Entertainment, for the end of it, but people can't figure out what the first kind of call numbers are. And so people are freaking out.
What is it, SSIE?
SSIE or SIE?
SIE is Sony International Entertainment.
Yeah. Or SEI. Sony, what it's not
Sony
SCEA anymore. Yeah, or something like that. Anyway, the last three letters were related to Sony, and they can't figure out what the rest of it is. So people are freaking out that Sony Santa Monica is, in fact, not going to create another God of War next, that it's going to do something else. And there's an argument, obviously. There's a lot of people who want them to do God of War. There's some people who want them to do something new and maybe put God of War on the back burner. What would your take be? What would you prefer that they do?
Whatever they want to do, they can do.
Okay.
I mean, Sony Santa Monica is one of the strongest track records of any developer in the world. Maybe second only to Insomniac. But Insomniac did make Fuse. Like Sony Santa Monica can pretty much do no wrong.
It's never made a bad game.
So if they want to make God of War 2, awesome. If they want to do something else, awesome. I don't care as long as they keep making stuff, frankly. Or God of War 2 is going to be really different.
Yeah.
Kratos goes to space.
Hey, Jason did it.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Is like,
and that was absurd.
That's more something you do when you're really out of ideas.
Yeah.
But you never know. I mean, they could go full of ancient aliens with it. But God of War is pretty solidly rooted in magic, so I wouldn't expect that. But
he could do something like what Jaffe did with him, where Jaffe kind of handed it off to a new director and worked on other stuff.
I definitely feel like there's enough bandwidth at Sony Santa Monica to do more than one thing at a time. Obviously, Cory has to focus on one thing. I would prefer if we're going to split your focus like that, you focus on God of War. But I'm sure God of War 2 is in pre-production at the very least. Like, they know where they're going. I mean, they clearly intend to make another one if you play the end of the game.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that's coming.
There's a huge cliffhanger at the end.
I'm sure that's coming. But, if they want to do something different, want to give me some space stuff, I do love space stuff, so I'm not going to argue with that. If you can, especially if it's going to be kind of you end up sort of coincidentally creating this, sort of battle between whatever they make and Starfield around the same time release, that'd be kind of interesting.
It would, in fact. What I really want to tackle with this topic, though, is what is the right timing for a sequel? Do you think it would be smart for them to just follow up immediately with another God of War? Or do you think it would be smarter for them to take 3 years to build something else and then come back with a sequel to God of War?
I think it would be more helpful if you don't take too long. I feel like 6 years is too much. Because at a certain point, you're going to have people that really like the other one sort of aging out of the ability to play a game that heavily.
It did do so well, though.
It did. But, remember, one of the reasons I think it did well is because it spoke to the current mainstream audience so much in terms of Dad of War.
Yeah.
Or Dad of Boy, as people like to term it. And, if you want to continue to strike when that iron is hot, I think the most important way to time God of War 2 is to try to make it come out
when that audience's children are the same age as Atreus in the new game.
Interesting.
Like if you I'm absolutely serious about this. If you want to keep that thing, to keep this a sequel to be as relevant to that same audience that made it a big hit, what you want to do is to continue to follow them in their sort of real life parenting journey and make sure that whenever it comes out, their kids that they identified with as being from Kratos, kind of the Kratos-Atreus relationship, make sure Atreus is that age, is the age of their kids now, like almost a real-time thing. So if you want to make Atreus like a teenager in the next game, like old enough to sort of take the mantle, yeah, you probably want to wait a little longer. Because you want to have the people that identified with Kratos so strongly and sort of like got into this dad of war thing, you want them to be raising teenagers at the time.
Now that phrase, strike while the iron's hot, it applies to almost every form of business. Like you got something that everybody wants, you get on it, you make it, you give them more of it. Is that the case with games, though? Particularly in 2019, where we typically, now God of War's not one of them, but we typically have games that you buy and then they're sustainable for the next year and a half or whatever.
I think it depends on the game. I mean, I think this game at the very least proves that God of War, people will come back for God of War.
Absolutely. No matter how long the wait is.
It's evergreen.
Yeah.
As long as you give them something worth playing, which means not Ascension.
Yeah.
The one everyone forgets.
Yeah.
I think Gears of War did the same thing, but you see the results in both Gears of War and God of War of sort of striking too often. You ended up with Ascension and you ended up with Judgment.
Yeah.
The two games that didn't sell tremendously well and nobody really remembers.
I mean, even beyond that, though, I mean, God of War, I think the second one was the best selling because the first one was kind of underground. People figured out it was awesome. Then the second one sold through the roof. But then you kind of see
the second one was on PS2, too. It had such an install base to work with. It was late PS2.
But then you start seeing kind of the cascading down of sales for the franchise, not just for Judgment.
Yeah, I mean, but also for 3. But the problem with 3 was also it was on the less popular system at the time.
Yeah.
Which didn't stay the same forever. And I'm glad they remastered it on PS4. But also, I think God of War 3 wasn't as good as 2. I think it has one of the most impressive opening 30 minutes in the history of video games, and then it never gets that good again.
No, you're right. It was kind of front-loaded.
I almost stopped playing it during the Hades maze. I thought that was really boring.
I remember Adam got stuck on the one boss fight and couldn't beat it. The one that took place on like the bridge or whatever, that suspended walkway.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I remember he reached out to me and was like, "Can you help me?" And I was like, "Just do this." And he's like, "I've been doing that." I was like, "Oh, I can't help you. I don't know what to tell you." But do you think in general that it's good to wait now before you kind of put out a sequel? Like, I don't think putting out a sequel every 2 years is the right tactic in this day and age.
I mean, I think it's especially the quality that people expect now from like the AAA market. Like, I don't think you can get that in 2 years.
I think Tomb Raider is another example.
Tomb Raider definitely suffered from that. I think 3 years is good because like just in terms of like if you catch someone who's like 7th or 8th grade, get that thing out in 3 years and they're not graduated from high school yet, so you still kind of because I think you lose a lot of people when you go to college because they don't have the disposable income.
And they all just play one game.
Yeah, they play
when I was in college, we played NHL 94 every day, all day. We had records put up on a poster board on the wall with who had the best record. Like, when you're in college, you find that one game that everybody plays because then you get competitive at it and you want to find out who, like, the champ is or whatever.
Yeah, because you forget that, like, certainly I think we forget that, like, 4 years is an eternity to the target demographic on a lot of these games.
I mean, that's their entire college career.
Yeah, that's their entire life.
I mean, I'm getting to the age now where I'm starting to look at games that come out and I'm like, will I ever play the sequel before I die?
Yeah.
I'm not joking. Like, there are, some franchises that, like, maybe were gone for a long time. They came back. They didn't do well. I'm like, well, I'm probably not going to play another one of those before I'm gone. Like,
I don't know about that. The only game I think that about on any regular basis is Star Citizen.
Grand Theft Auto.
Grand Theft Auto is going to be out.
Like, I'm saying when the next one comes out, I don't know that I'll play another one before I die. I mean, I'm starting to think about that stuff. It'll be close.
You think?
Yeah.
I mean, statistically, we should live to the 2050s or so.
I mean, I also know that you can die at any time.
Well,
sure. So that's probably flavoring my opinion a little bit.
That's true of anything.
Yeah.
But I mean, statistically, you're probably going to live until the 2050s. And I'm pretty sure they'll get GTA 7 out between 2025 and you have 25 years. They'll get 7 out at some point. I promise. Although the question does become what's left to do with GTA in 7?
What will there be?
But Yeah, this
I honestly think we're getting to a point where like a new game in the series every 4 or 5 years is the right call. I think otherwise you just lose audience.
I think the sweet spot is like 2 per generation. Like
every 3.5, 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this didn't work out because this came out late in the PlayStation 4's life.
Yeah.
But I would like to see God of War 2 and 3 before the end of the PS5.
Like they could have done that with. They can do that with Zelda with the Switch.
I think they will. I mean, we're getting the Breath of the Wild sequel. Probably, I'm thinking next year, early year after.
Well, we'll definitely see it at E3. So it could be next holiday season. Who knows?
Yeah, it's not impossible. So I think I think two installments of your major franchises per system is sort of a good rule of thumb, and it's going to be even easier to do that now that like there's a non-zero chance that the sequel to this could also run on PS4.
Yeah, that's
depending on how far out it is.
Yeah, I think we're definitely going to see sales of games go up.
Yeah, because you won't be abandoning that install base anymore.
I mean, I think publishers are just going to be making more money on games than ever before.
Hopefully,
on a per game basis.
There's no other way to sustain these budgets. So.
Yeah, there's so many other ways. Maybe not first party stuff as much, but third parties are going to be loving it, man. There are so many more outlets for them to distribute their games now.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a boon for them, and maybe it offsets some of the sales that you lose due to the lack of enthusiasm that you may have because the game just came out. Maybe with a bigger install base, they kind of offset the fans who aren't willing to buy it every 2 years.
Imagine, even if you've got like 6 guys, imagine fucking with this dude. Imagine trying to fight Kratos.
Oh, I know.
Even if I had 8 guys. I think we can take him. Are you kidding?
He's got an axe the size of my torso.
He's 1.5 foot taller than you.
And he has weapons. Yeah, it's crazy.
Like, as soon as you see that axe glow,
run. Done. I'm out. See ya. Please don't kill me on the way out the door.
And he will.
Yeah, exactly. He'll throw the axe. He'll be the last one out of the room, and he'll pin you to, like, the door jamb or whatever.
But at least the last thought you'll ever have is, wow, that's really cool.
As you see the axe go
pull it back,
and back into his hand.
Like, oh, wow, he can do that.
So I guess we've settled on 3 to 5 years.
I think 3, yeah.
But I think we're both agreeing.
But don't go super crazy. I mean, there's also room if you want to churn stuff out. Like, I mean, obviously the Assassin's Creed games show that can still work as long as you, like, take a break to keep it fresh once in a while. Like, I don't think Odyssey suffered from being a year after Origins. But I also think it's a good thing that they have decided to take a break this year and make the Viking one something with a little more spin on it, you know? Like, that's the trick. And I think they learned that Ubisoft learned that the hard way, I think, with Breakpoint this year. It's just getting, and it's part of this sort of ongoing thing about where there's no such thing as too big to fail in this industry anymore. Like you spend so much on each thing in the AAA space that one bomb could be life or death.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or at least a very angry shareholder meeting.
And that's part of it too. Like, I'm sure the publishers even know, okay, if we put out this next game 2 years after the last one, it's going to sell less, but it's still going to sell.
Yeah, and it gives us something to put on the investor's call.
Right. And so our
look at all the revenue.
Our quarter isn't going to look completely empty and bereft of any value. So there's a lot that goes into it. I think just selfishly as a player, I'm good going to a universe like once every 3 or 4 years. Mm-hmm. More than that, to me, it just starts to lose its shine a little bit. And when you do that, you start to lose your enthusiasm, and then you start to lose that evangelical marketing part of it where you have people who love it going out and telling other people to buy it, which I know for a fact happened a lot with God of War. I've been one of those people who have evangelized this to my friends when they buy consoles. They're like, what should I buy? I'm like, buy God of War. Your first game should be God of War. And I think when you're putting stuff out that frequently, you kind of lose that pin action that you would get normally.
And I like the 3-year cycle is good enough. I mean,
it's plenty of time to make a high-quality game as well.
I feel like we're about to see that with Horizon.
Yeah, that's true. Yep. So there you go. I'm interested to hear what other people think. There are some people who maybe just love franchises and are like, you know what, I'd be okay if they came out every year, as long as I'm getting more of what I like.
I have mostly been okay with an Assassin's Creed every year. It was kind of an October ritual.
Yeah, I mean, they cheat a little bit because they have different teams working on stuff.
Yeah, but like, would I consider...
They're all different enough.
But would I put like any Assassin's Creed game on the level of what God of War is? Probably not.
No.
Like, Sony's first-party stuff, especially from Sony Santa Monica, are boutique.
Yeah.
They're
unrealistic.
They're a top
for most publishers.
Yeah, they're a top level. They're a $5,000 tailored suit.
Yeah.
where to to Assassin's Creed is more of an off the rack Men's Warehouse. Kind
Third
of
party publishers never going to spend.
And you're going to look
6
good,
years
I guarantee it.
Yeah.
But one of them's got one of them feels a little better to have on.
Yeah, you're going to like the way you look.
Yeah. But maybe not quite so much as you do when Sony Santa Monica makes your suit.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's why
I don't even know what we're talking about anymore.
But most publishers can't spend 6 years making a
Right.
game, is what I was getting at. Like, you're just not going to see third parties doing this kind
unless
of
you
stuff.
have like so many teams, you don't know what to do. You have multiple things in the fire, but you need income every year.
Yep.
It's like how
Can't have everyone sell all their stock.
Yeah, like it's how we continually wonder how Bethesda's still alive.
Yeah. It's a good point. Yep. All right, let's move on.
But they are taking longer than anyone. So
yeah, it's true. That's true. All right, we're going to talk next about PlayStation. PlayStation has been the leader for this entire generation. It has done seemingly everything right. Can you remember anything that it did poorly or wrongly?
I mean, PlayStation Vue wasn't great.
I mean,
but it didn't hurt them.
I mean, if you had PlayStation Vue, you thought it was awesome because you're getting a suite of cable channels for a third of the price you would spend
but it
on
didn't
cable.
It didn't really do what they needed it to do.
Yeah, it wasn't sustainable.
But it didn't hurt them.
Right.
I mean, the reason it didn't succeed is most people didn't even know it existed.
Right.
So.
Yeah. But other than that, like related to games, can you think of any misstep Sony's had this generation?
Not really. I mean, I'm not a fan of charging me for cloud saves, but that's about it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. But that's just rolled into your PlayStation
it's just
Plus
little
anyway.
minor things.
Yeah, it's not too big of a deal. So you hear often the phrase, like the lower third says, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But Sony has decided to completely upend the apple cart.
Chat points out crossplay. That's true.
Oh,
their stubbornness on
dragging
crossplay.
its feet on crossplay. Yeah, I mean,
they
still did it.
Yeah, they did it.
But
kicking and screaming.
Point taken. I mean, that is true. That is one where they did not read the audience the right way or the way that it should have. But otherwise,
there's a little bit of arrogant Sony from old sneaking in there.
But otherwise, it's basically just been a home run derby for Sony.
Yeah.
The balls are coming in, they're whacking them way over the fence, and the crowd's cheering. So, the last couple weeks, Sony has basically announced that it is completely restructuring PlayStation, how it's run. And we heard this, like the first thing we heard was, okay, some people are getting shuffled around. Sean Layden mysteriously disappeared. And they didn't say why Sean Layden had disappeared, but we did kind of guess that maybe there's some big shuffling going on there. It appears now that was absolutely the case because PlayStation has completely restructured how it's going to do things. And I think most people wouldn't care that much until the latest announcement was made. And that is that Shuhei Yoshida is stepping down as the head of Worldwide Studios, and the head of Guerrilla Games is taking his job. Shu is going to be working on an indie initiative going forward. I was talking to Pactor about this when we were shooting on Friday, and we both came to the agreement that it was a demotion for Shu. No matter how you slice his new job, it's a step down from what he was doing before. Because before he was running all the studios around the world. He was in control of all the first-party stuff for PlayStation, and now he's just trying to get indie stuff onto the platform. So, and I want to make sure I get his name right. The fellow from Guerrilla Games who made the move is Herman Holst. People may remember Guerrilla Games in particular, other than the fact that they've made great games. Guerrilla Games' engine has kind of turned into the de facto first-party engine for PlayStation. So Death Stranding was built on Guerrilla's engine.
Which they gave to Kojima on a flash drive.
Right.
And said, please use it.
Please use it. Yeah, just gave it to him. I was like, just take it and make it work. The other part of it, too, is that he had been, like, I believe the vice president of Worldwide Studios at one point.
I don't know.
I think he was. He had, like, a high-ranking job across PlayStation in general. He wasn't always just, like, the Guerrilla Games dude. So he has had experience working in this. So it's not, like, crazy that he would get the job. It's crazy that you would move Shu out of that job after all the success you have had with your first parties over the last 7-8 years.
Maybe Shu wanted a lower pressure job?
That's possible, actually. Shu's a really good guy. And he's a mellow dude.
If they're unhappy with, I mean, I know it is a demotion, technically, but like, if they're unhappy with him, I feel like he would have gotten Sean Layden.
Yeah,
You
and he'd
know?
just be gone.
Yeah. Although there is the Japanese tradition of not wanting to fire someone who's been there forever out of respect, so you give them a shitty job
And hope that they
until they
quit.
quit because they get bored, basically.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't sound like the job he'd be doing now is bored.
Yeah.
It would be boring.
I mean, it's certainly much lower stakes.
Lower, but like that can be a nice break after running Worldwide Studios for how many. I mean, he whipped this thing into shape in a way that no one else ever has.
Which is why I'm saying, why are you changing?
That's the other. It's like I feel it's gotta be like I'm tired in some way. Like I don't know what. Obviously, we don't know internal politics at Sony, but like I don't know. I can't think of a reason you'd be unhappy with the job he's done.
I'm just wondering if, because Guerrilla's engine is becoming kind of this first-party thing, if he's just the best guy for the job at this point. I mean, my guess is he knows the engine better than anyone other than the guy who built the engine.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the only question I'd have in terms of that is like, could it possibly be related to the fact that they ended up in this weird situation where like they had no first-party content to speak
For the last 2 years?
For the last year or so. Last year was amazing first-party content.
Yeah.
There's God of War. It was, and what was the other thing? Spider-Man.
Yep.
This year, if there's that weird. There's been this weird, awkward phase where, like, yeah, Days Gone came out, and we got Death Stranding coming along, and then we got Last of Us, but then that pushed to May. Like, there's a kind of a desert of content here in it, and you could theoretically, if you're a real hard ass,
like, who's managing these studios?
See that as a mismanagement, where like we've got this whole stretch where we got nothing,
Yeah.
or it appears we have nothing, and then we have to kind of play keep away and play tap dance distraction while we wait for the new system to launch. Because it doesn't make sense to launch these huge projects without also helping our new hardware. I could see how that would be kind of like we're happy with the creative work you've done, but we're not super happy with how you've scheduled this all out. And now we're in kind of a weird position, and we're going to have to come back to E3 next year or something and explain why we were gone last year. Like, there could be a bunch of like awkwardness is a really big thing in Japanese business.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
maybe that could be part of it. Like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I have no insight of note into Sony's internal business practices and politics, but that would be the only thing I could think of, because otherwise, Sony first-party content is like top of mind to me.
It's like
all
the best.
time.
Yeah,
no question.
Yeah, I can't understand why because the other part about it too is a part of doing that job is being an ambassador. Mm-hmm. You need to go to these studios, and one, you need to let them know that you know what the hell you're talking about, and you know what the hell you're doing, and then two, you got to guide them, and you have to have them buying in to whatever you're telling them to do. Shu, to me, would be a god at that. Mm-hmm. His disposition, the way he deals with people, he's exactly the type of person you want doing that. I have talked to the guy from Guerrilla a couple times. I think Killzone for PlayStation 3 was the last time I talked to him. And he's a good guy, and he speaks great English, which is important if you're going to be working with a lot of studios where English is their first language. But he's not charismatic. He was friendly enough, but he was a little bit standoffish. Like, I don't know. He doesn't seem like the perfect guy to fill that role. It seemed like they already had the perfect guy doing that job. Shu also obviously big with the Japanese guys. You know, having that ambassador to talk to the Japanese developers, try to get them to create exclusive stuff for you. I mean, I'm sure Shu had a big part in Kojima coming over to PlayStation, for instance. So you don't have him in that position. You kind of lose out on some of those opportunities, but maybe...
Although whether that is something to brag about...
maybe Japan's relevance in the gaming industry isn't what it used to be. So maybe, Herman in Europe is the better play now. Him getting European studios on board with PlayStation is more important than getting the Japanese guys on. I hate to say that, but it's probably the truth. Like, it's just...
And also, like, the Japanese companies are on board with PlayStation anyway.
Right. No matter what, if they're making a console game, it's going to be for PlayStation. Yeah. It's just the way it is. And then maybe you get Switch in there as well. Xbox is always going to be the X factor with Japanese developers. It just always will be. It's just the way it is. Do you think this is a good move by PlayStation?
I really don't know. I mean, I definitely like Guerrilla Games and how they've sort of reinvented themselves with Horizon and moving forward and kind of digging themselves out of that Killzone pit, which is a series I've never liked once. Not for lack of quality, but just because it just never felt like its own it never felt like its own man, basically. If that makes any sense.
No, it makes total sense.
So like I like his creative approach to things. As an ambassador, you may be right, but like in terms of someone kind of running the choices in what content gets made, like I could find worse ideas than letting the guy who thought Horizon was a good idea be the man.
He's also the guy who thought Killzone was a good idea for years and years.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can see why you would think that, because PlayStation didn't really have anything like Halo, which is what they were directly trying to do was Halo. I think Insomniac tended to outdo them with the Resistance games at the same time on the PS3. I don't know how widespread that opinion is.
I think it's probably split down the middle,
probably.
my guess is.
I mean, certainly Killzone delivered more of the standard multiplayer experience people wanted from something like a Halo killer, so to speak.
Yeah.
I just always thought Resistance was a more interesting series.
Agree.
But, I mean, I don't think it's a bad pick. Also, I don't know the guy. I don't know much about his track record beyond that. But they must see something there. Sony hasn't made a whole lot of poor staffing decisions from the high level, at least in terms of their PlayStation division. We're not talking about the movie division here.
I mean,
is that active? Is that Uncharted movie ever getting made? Who knows?
It's on what? It's like 5th director now or
I
whatever?
think 5 directors now, yeah.
I mean, who goes on stage for a PlayStation now to introduce the PlayStation 5? Cerny.
I mean, yeah, Cerny is actually the answer to that, probably.
Yeah.
But I guess Herman is the new dude.
That seems weird.
Maybe.
I mean, again, he can speak pretty good English. It's not his first language.
Well, I'm sure if you're taking this job, I'm sure he's working on it.
Yeah.
But is that where are they? They're Netherlands?
Yeah.
I mean, they speak like 4 languages
They do.
anyway. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure he just brush up on his English lessons from back in the day, and he'll be fine.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see who
one way or the other is going to be better than the Cyber World guy. So
yeah, can't get it that bad again. At least
Yeah.
I would hope not. Although I don't know. I don't want to put Sony up to that. So you don't think we'll see any changes? You don't think maybe we'll see less like Asian influenced stuff?
I mean, I think we already see that.
Yeah. I mean, it's already kind of gone to the
Sony's
West already.
first party is very heavily Western focused
Yeah.
at this point. Like, you don't see a ton of Japanese games out of them in terms of their AAA content.
And if you look back at the ones that were released for PlayStation 4, they bombed.
I'm trying to think now. Like, what?
There was a couple. It wasn't called Dusk Diver. It was called... What was the one with the girl who can, like, fly?
Oh, Gravity Rush.
Yeah, Gravity Rush.
I mean, I like those games a lot, but they were like no one knows about those games.
Right. But that was a PlayStation 4 exclusive that came from Japan. I'm guessing Shu probably shepherded that, and it tanked. I mean,
Those games are
you don't
great.
fire somebody over that, but...
If you haven't played the Gravity Rush games, get on it. Like,
You can
they're
get those
really
for,
good.
like, $10
You get
now,
cheap. Yeah,
too.
the next Sony sale they're on sale. Like, get at least the remastered version of the first one, because that was on PlayStation. That was on Vita or something. That was
Yeah.
like handheld or PSP. But like, yeah, Gravity Rush is great.
Yep, but it bombed.
Yep,
so,
it did.
And I'm guessing Shu had a lot to do with that.
Oh,
It's not a reason you fire somebody, but...
Who makes Knack? I mean, I know Cerny's involved in that, but who is the
what is
developer
this
for-
studio? That's in Japan. I think
That's
it's
Japan?
Tokyo Studio.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Not exactly burning the charts up.
No.
Knack has its fans.
I mean,
but,
Knack was just a tech demo, basically.
But it doesn't explain Knack 2.
It doesn't. Other than the fact that they're like, well,
That
we
game
have
got
the
a
studio
sequel.
here. Yeah.
That game got a sequel.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
Um,
But
yeah.
when the god, the professor of the PlayStation
Right.
makes a game and makes your hardware, you're probably going to let him make a sequel.
Yeah.
Just saying. If only for the goodwill, just for him to not leave. He's been there for a long time.
It's
But
all going to come together in Knack 3 for the PlayStation 5. It's all leading up.
third time's the charm. So anyway, just something to keep an eye on as we kind of move into Generation 9. Who's going to be fronting PlayStation? Who's going to be making sure that they have that staple of first-party exclusives that really kind of floated the boat for PS4? And who's going to be the face of PlayStation now? It'll be interesting to see.
Knack. Clearly.
Knack. Cerny's going to build a real Knack. He could. He's smart enough.
Cerny will reveal that he is Knack.
That's also possible. Okay, let's move on. We're going to talk next about Smash Bros. Kinda. This week there was a new DLC character released for Smash Brothers, and when that happens, there's always like a back and forth with Sakurai. And in the midst of one of his interviews, somebody asked him why they have not brought Mai to Smash Brothers yet. And his response was that Smash Brothers needs to be a game that's good for boys and girls.
I thought it said for good
boys and girls, yeah. Basically insinuating that Mai is a little too risque for Smash Brothers.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that.
But don't you think that, Bayonetta's in the game?
Yeah, but Bayonetta's entire personality doesn't revolve around her bouncing boobs.
Would you say that about Mai?
More or less, yeah.
Really?
That is why she's popular, because when that game first came out, I was like, holy crap, look at that.
Well, yeah, after she wins, she does that bounce or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, that was what her nickname was in the arcades, was My Bouncy.
Right.
And I mean, he clarified after that the reason she's not in there is because if we put her in there without altering her, we would have to have our rating bumped up from 0A.
Right.
In Japan. And if we did alter her, people would scream until bloody murder.
Do you think so, though?
Abso-fucking-lutely.
Really?
No question. Look how much screaming there was about Tifa wearing a sports bra, for God's sake. Yes, there would be screaming if you altered her outfit.
Why was that not the case for Bayonetta?
Because Bayonetta's not mostly naked.
Yeah, she is.
She's covered in hair.
She's covered in hair.
That's not the same.
But you play the game, she's basically naked at multiple parts through the game. I mean, that's what they play on it. They use her hair just to cover up the parts that...
but for a couple of frames, she's just sitting there with her tits hanging out the whole time, bouncing back and forth. She's not even a particularly interesting character to play. Terry is the face of that series, unless you can't count Geese Howard. It's like Terry or Geese is your pick.
And
for
Terry's
King of
already in
Fighters.
there. Yeah.
Well, that's exactly who should be in there. And also, I think you've seen an issue with, it's very interesting to see when Terry went live where everyone's sort of, having trouble doing his inputs because he kept most of his inputs from the game.
He's different from Smash.
Similar to Ryu, but more so because he's using,
because Smash doesn't use the typical fighting game inputs.
No, well, because the problem is, it's very hard to do those moves on an analog stick.
Right.
And this Smash doesn't let you use the D-pad for movement. So you basically, there's a lot of people I've seen who want to use the D-pad to play Terry, and they can't because Smash doesn't let you do that.
Yeah.
And I understand that. I like that they kept, the fighting game characters, they mostly keep the movesets more or less to keep it true to the character, which is cool. But yeah, you might need to put in some new controller options to let those characters be a little more playable because... at least you're not trying to do it with an N64 stick, but I can absolutely see it being frustrated trying to do a fireball motion properly on the analog stick over and over again. And with Terry, he's got even more. He's got the full half circle stuff, and it's King of Fighters always had slightly more input demands than Street Fighter did, at least until Street Fighter started adding all the crazy super moves.
What about Zero Suit Samus though?
Well, she's just in a tight outfit.
There's no she's naked, but she's blue,
and there's no bouncing. That's part of it.
Is that really what do you think that's what it is?
The bouncing. Yeah, the bouncing is considered the titillation. If you're just showing Samus is in a tight outfit, but that's just what she looks like. It's she's a woman in a form-fitting aerobics suit.
She's basically naked but blue.
Well, you could say that about anybody, gymnasts too. That's
that's true. They are basically naked, but they have a leotard on.
Yeah, but it's just what she's wearing. It's not specifically there for titillation. Mai's entire reason for being is to say, "Look at her tits."
Huh. I never got that from that character at all.
Are you kidding me?
No, she's been in 5 different franchises.
Well, she's been in Fatal Fury the whole time. Which became King of Fighters.
Right.
But that was her whole appeal in the very first game she was in.
I never looked at it that way. She's a ninja.
She's a ninja with huge boobs.
They all are. They all have huge boobs.
But she's leaning forward so you can see down her kimono and they're bouncing back. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's the whole reason she was notable. That's why no one remembered anybody else in that damn game.
I never remembered her for that. I just remembered she was a ninja girl.
We found the one, everyone.
Apparently.
I look forward to you defeating Agent Smith.
So you don't have any problem with them not putting her in Smash?
No. I think one representative is fine, and if I was going to pick one representative from Fatal Fury King of Fighters, it would be Terry.
I'd agree with that.
Terry's the face of the franchise.
So you think this is another case of Nintendo fans freaking out over nothing?
Of course. It's also some Smash fans just want every character ever made
in the game. Yeah. That's not going to happen. Eventually you have to draw the line somewhere. But I was just kind of surprised that there was such a... Because I had never had that perspective of her as a character at all.
That's the only perspective of her as a character.
Weird.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Because to me, every girl in every fighting game looks like her. They all have boobs that are completely unrealistic.
They all do, but very few of them focus on it the way she... Like, the whole focal point of her character sprite has always been her bouncing boobs and her neutral pose. Like, that's the whole thing.
Interesting. I never saw it that way.
Wow. I don't know what to say to that.
Because she just blends in with all the other female fighting characters.
No, she doesn't. That's why she's notable. It's why they want her over Blue Mary or any of the other female characters in King of Fighters. Why do you think everyone's so focused on her? Because she's basically naked. For God's sake, we interviewed a girl at FanimeCon once for the show who was in a Mai outfit that was almost illegal. And then we found out she was 16.
Oh,
and
God.
we're like, oh, we can't even...
Oh, God.
And like, we can't even put you on TV for that because you can't sign the release. She's like, oh, my dad will. And her dad comes over. I'm like, well, you're here with the... I don't even know what...
It'll break your brain.
Like, it was like... It was amazing. And, like, that's the whole point of my... Look at her. Like, that's the... I mean, not so much in that one. I don't know which game this is. I mean, obviously it varies depending on who's drawing her. But most of the games, that's the whole thing. Like, she's...
Interesting. Yeah, I never saw her that way.
Okay. I don't know.
What game is this?
I look at all fighting game female characters the same. They're all over-sexualized. They're all way unrealistically endowed. They all bounce. They all jiggle.
Not like Mai. Like the reason all that jiggle is in fighting games is because of Mai. Like that was the first one.
See, I thought that they just wanted her in the game because she's like the second most popular KOF fighter ever.
No, they want her. The second most popular KF fighter is Andy Bogard or Geese Joe Higashi or there's a lot of others. Rock Howard. Like there's tons of other prominent. She's the most prominent female fighter, but the reason she's the most prominent female fighter in this franchise is because she's got huge tits bouncing around.
Huh.
Like that's the whole thing. That's why they want her. That's why Mai is infamous. She started that. I mean, Chun-Li was not. It's not like she wasn't attractive. But then they brought Fatal Fury out or whatever she was in, and it was just like, what the heck? Like, SNK just doesn't give a shit. Like, they were just, like, leaning into it. And, like, that was why Mai was infamous for years and years. That's why her name is Mai Bouncy in the arcades, and Blue Mary doesn't have that nickname. And Chun-Li doesn't have that nickname. Like, that's where it comes from.
Interesting.
Like any like over sexualized, like obvious like sexualization of a female character in a fighting game, you can trace its roots back to Mai Shiranui. No question whatsoever.
I had no idea. No clue about that.
Well, you didn't spend enough time in 7-Eleven discussing this sort of thing.
I guess not.
Between games while you're waiting for your quarter to be up.
I just liked playing as her. I thought she was fast and she was easy to pick up and play.
She does. I mean, a lot of the early guys had very low, Andy and Terry and her and probably Kim all had probably the lowest barrier of entry.
Right. Yeah. And I just thought, to me, she's the second most recognizable character in the franchise.
She's definitely one of the top 5, like just in terms of that.
But now that you tell me that they were just wanting it because they were perving out and wanted her in the game.
Oh, absolutely.
I get it.
Not even remote. I mean, I'm sure most of them would gladly admit it.
Yeah.
Like, that's what they wanted. I mean, they didn't want her as a playable character. They wanted her as like a background character or a helper or whatever, support character. But yeah, Sakurai just don't want to deal with that situation.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense if that's all they wanted. Like, to me, I was like, just cover her up a little bit and put her in. Like, what's the big deal?
But if you cover her up, then people are going to freak out because that's why they want her in there.
See, I didn't realize that.
Of course.
I didn't realize that if she was covered up, people wouldn't want her in the game at all.
Come on. I mean, look at that. It's just ridiculous.
I guess.
So.
But anyway, not coming to Smash.
No, doesn't sound like it.
Not gonna happen.
I mean, one King of Fighters character is enough,
yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's kind of how they've been doing it. I mean, they do have Ken and Ryu.
I mean, it's cool that, like, they have a representation there.
Yeah.
And especially because SNK is supporting the Switch so much with all their Neo Geo stuff.
Yeah.
It's cool that they got Terry in there. And it's cool that Terry's in there with Ryu, and you kind of redo Capcom versus SNK again. Like, there's a lot it's fun. I like it. And I hope they do more stuff like that with other weird franchises that you maybe wouldn't expect.
Because this game still has a long time to live.
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
it's still got another 2 or 3 years at least
for a long time. But like, one King of Fighters character is enough.
Yeah, the truth is there aren't that many readily identifiable King of Fighter characters.
No, I mean, you've got
When it comes
her
down to-
and Iori and the main three, Andy, Terry, Joe.
So you've already named 3. Then I'm just like, I don't even know who that
And
is.
I mean, they're just the big 3.
Yeah.
You'd recognize them if you saw them because they've been in since Fatal Fury 1. Geese, obviously, although I wonder how many people know Geese from those games versus know him from his Tekken appearances.
Probably from Tekken, definitely. I would guarantee they know him more for that.
And then you got, I mean, some of this, I mean, that guy there, that little guy in the sunglasses, do you know he's one of the Akari Warriors?
Yeah.
The Akari Warriors guys. Like, there's a lot of appearances.
Meta. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of them are like characters that you'd see and like, oh, I recognize the big dude with the ball and chain,
but I have no idea
but
what
you don't know what
his
his name is. Yeah.
That's the way it is for most of me, or most of the characters.
I don't know what
in
his
this
name is
franchise.
either. Right? I mean, at a certain point, the King of Fighters games were like dozens and dozens
Oh
of
yeah,
characters.
they had like 50 characters.
There's Athena. She's from other SNK games. I mean, that thing started crossing over all over the place. I like the King of Fighters games, but I can't keep up with everyone.
Yeah, I mean, King of Fighters 14 ended up having like 50 fighters or something
It was
in it.
crazy. Yeah, because you had teams of 3,
Right.
which meant you just needed tons and tons of characters.
Yeah, to fill it out.
King, I like King is not one of the biggest characters in the game, but King is one of my favorite characters to play.
See the guy that has like the cufflinks?
She's the waiter.
Oh, she. Yeah, so she has like the cuffed shirt and
Yeah, she has the waiter, like full waiter, like Maitre D outfit,
Yeah,
but she's more of a close up kick fighter.
Again, I remember her. I would never remember her name. That's just not going to happen. So there you go. It looks like they're going to stray on the side, or err on the side of caution with Smash Brothers going forward.
Yeah, I mean, Smash Brothers is not.
To me, after Bayonetta, kind of all bets were off, though, because there's really no character more over the top than she is.
I mean, I would put Mai more in terms of that. In
Really?
terms of sexual content, no question.
Huh. Interesting.
Like, also because Bayonetta is a very empowered character to a large degree, whereas Mai is just there to be leered at.
Interesting.
So I think they're making the correct call here, just in terms of the tone of what the game is supposed to be.
Okay. All right, let's move along. We're going to talk next about Microsoft.
Although I would maybe not mind seeing what Kirby would turn into if he ate her.
Would he just turn into a big rack?
Boob?
A big
Yeah,
boob?
maybe. Yeah. It just makes 2 Kirby's. Don't mention anything else.
But they're
Just,
attached
there's 2 of
and
them.
they have to travel
Yeah,
together
it's
wherever
just,
they go.
it doubles your combo like the Ice Climbers. That'll be what that was.
All right, let's move on. We're going to talk next about Microsoft. Microsoft has been on a spending spree, buying studios, getting ready for Generation 9 consoles. All of the purchases so far have been pretty smart. We have Obsidian that it purchased. We have Ninja Theory that it purchased. We have In Exile. What else? There's like 4 or 5 total.
Yeah.
Those are the 3 big ones.
Yeah. Did you mention the Hellblade people?
Yeah,
already?
Ninja Theory.
That's right.
Yeah. So, rumors have been bubbling over the last couple weeks that Microsoft is in the market for another purchase, and that purchase just may be Platonic. Platonic is basically Rare 2.0. Or I would say Rareware 2.0, because Rare is kind of the name of the company as it stands now. Rareware is what it was when it was making great games for Nintendo platforms. And a lot of those guys left, started their own studio called Platonic, and released this game, which is called Yooka-Laylee. Very similar to the franchise that they created when they worked with Nintendo called Banjo-Kazooie. Now, after the rumors started floating around, Platonic came out and basically, I wouldn't even call it a denial. It just basically said we have nothing to announce at this time. Platonic is still an independent company. So for starters, do you think it would be a smart purchase?
I don't really know. I mean, I didn't like Yooka-Laylee that much.
Most people didn't.
I haven't played the new one.
The 2D game.
Yeah, maybe with the support of Microsoft's resources, they could do a Banjo that like would do it, not like this garbage. God, I hate this game.
Me too. I hate even looking at it.
Yeah, it's the redesign of the characters is really what sunk it from the beginning. For
Yep.
me. Like, it just, I don't know what you're doing to Banjo's nose there, but it's not okay with me.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Like, I wouldn't. I mean, at the same time, it's sort of like, maybe it's time to let it go. Like, it's been 20 years since Banjo had a good game. It's kind of, playing Yooka-Laylee kind of like, I don't know what else you could really do with it to make it better, because it is pretty much just taking that format and
tossing in a new
tossing
duo
into
of
a modern.
characters.
Yeah. I hate which one's which. Is Yuka the chameleon?
Yeah.
I hate his posture. He stands too straight. Like, it looks like he's got a rod up his spine.
Like he needs to relax.
Yeah. Like, everything below his chest is weird to me. Like, it feels like his legs are too skinny. It's like, I don't like any of the way that the lizard moves. I don't like, something about it bugs me.
Well, this game's Metacritic ended up settling in at like a 6.5, something like that. It did not do particularly well.
I think it ran out of steam after like 3 levels.
It did. It sold well enough, and a lot of that was just because people had backed the game.
Yeah, that's why I got it. 'Cause I think
it was a crowd-funded game, and so organically they had already paid for its development.
Mm-hmm.
And then they released the 2D semi-sequel, which just came out recently and did a little bit better with critics. I think the biggest complaint about it was that it was maybe a little bit too challenging. At least that seemed to be the prevailing opinion about the game.
I mean, I'd say like too challenging without being rewarding.
Right.
Is really the issue there. And I mean, I just think, like, I'm not saying it'd be bad to like resurrect Banjo with these guys if Microsoft were to buy them, but like at the same time, it's like, you know what, Firefly's never coming back. Like, it might be time to let it go.
Yeah.
It's been a long time. We've moved on.
And I think the
Mario Odyssey is a thing now. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like maybe the paradigm is shifted and the ship has sailed, which that was not a pun by the fact that they're on a ship in the B-roll right now.
Perfect timing, yeah.
But like, I just don't know if there's that much to be gained from trying to resurrect this like shambling corpse of a subgenre.
Yeah, I mean, is there even demand for this genre anymore, honestly?
I don't know.
Beyond what, oh my gosh, they're going to bring back the people who made Banjo-Kazooie? I'll give $5. Like,
yeah, I mean, I'm not against a good banjo game for the first time since I was in my 20s, but like, is it something I need? No. Is it something that Microsoft is going to help put them over the top next gen? Probably not.
And let's be honest, this is all Playtonic has proven it can make.
Yeah.
So if you're Microsoft and you're thinking about purchasing this company, you're like, well...
Like, you really only want them for one thing.
Yeah, I mean, this is what you would be buying them to make new Banjo games.
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, or Conquer.
Yeah.
To be fair, like, Microsoft needs diversity in its lineup, and this would be that. Like, no one else is making this kind of game except the occasional Mario game.
Because Rare isn't.
Rare certainly isn't.
I mean, how crazy is it that we're thinking about Microsoft buying a development studio to make a franchise that a studio it currently owns already made?
Well, because, I mean, that company isn't the same company anymore. It hasn't been for a very long time.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, Rare doesn't have the people to make this game anymore.
No. And I mean, part of that is just, you know, time goes on, people move on to new things. It's just how it works. Companies don't remain the same. But at the same time, it's also because it feels like Microsoft mismanaged Rare as soon as they got them in the building.
Absolutely. I don't think there's any denying that. I mean, when you have them working on, like, stupid Kinect crap.
Kinect, like making them, like, redesign the avatar system so you could see the bottom of their shoe.
What are you
like,
doing?
Why
you really
are
spent
you
that much money on a studio to do that?
Yeah.
But it is weird that, like, you know, Rare should be the company to make the next Banjo, but after playing Nuts and Bolts, I don't trust Rare to make the next Banjo either. No. So it appears that if we want more Banjo or we want more Conquer,
those polygons.
Yeah. This might be the only way to get it. And so in that case, is it worth it? I mean, a lot of it depends on how much do you pay for Playtonic as well.
I mean, probably not a crazy amount, I would think.
Like $20 million?
Maybe, I mean, I don't know.
I wouldn't give them that much. I mean, you could probably buy Playtonic for 10 or 15 mil.
Yeah. I mean,
that's worth it to me.
I don't know if, like, worth it versus worth. I mean, I don't have a ton of interest in seeing this resurrected, really, but, like, I think the main point in its favor is to kind of diversify the Microsoft exclusive lineup and make it look like more than Gears and Halo over and over, and Forza over and over again. You know?
Like, I mean, and they've already, obviously, they bought 5 already, studios that are going to help do that. But like you said, none of them
as long as you're at the store,
yeah.
might as well pick up some fruit.
Yeah, I mean, none of them really make all ages content, though, the studios that they just bought.
Although fruit is more Donkey Kong 64.
Yeah.
That's really where this whole format jumped the shark for me, was
collecting stuff.
Collecting 4,000 pieces of different fruit, and I needed a different monkey to do each fruit.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I mean, that was bad enough that Banjo-Tooie sort of like broke up all, like made you like relearn all these moves and backtrack all the time, go back. Like Donkey Kong 64 was just like, yeah, you're never getting anything done because you need to switch between the orangutan collects the oranges and the
that was when they
the pineapples.
That was when they started to run out of ideas. In all honesty, that's when they had already squeezed.
It's like we're just gonna make it long.
Yeah, we're just gonna give people more game. Is basically what Donkey Kong 64 was. I wonder. I think for an investment that cheap, it would be worth it. If you can buy Playtonic for even $20 million, I think it would be worth it. Just to have a studio that has
that's pretty
those
much,
sensibilities to fill that void that you have.
That's pretty much couch change for Microsoft.
Right, that's what I'm saying. And Playtonic, they'd be more than happy to take $20 million among however many 5 or 6 guys that are there.
Yeah, plus the job security that would then follow.
And I mean, the security of having a few mil in the bank.
Right.
that's some job security. You
but
don't
also
need a
not
job.
worrying where your next budget's coming from.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, do we get the
helpful.
crowdfund again? Or how are we going to get money for our next game? You're right. That all goes out the window. I think Playtonic would be with it 100%. And I think it makes sense for Microsoft. It is the one hole, even after all these purchases, it will have left. And that is making family-friendly entertainment.
I mean, that would be a pretty happy ending for the guys who started Playtonic when you think about it.
For sure. Absolutely. And another studio I think Microsoft should be looking at is Playful.
What do they do?
They kind of started making, like, Lucky's Tale for VR, but Lucky's Tale's kind of turned into a decent platforming franchise that stepped out of VR and was still successful. So that's another studio that could potentially look at. But these guys, they have kind of that special sauce that they tend to be able to make stuff that even though it may seem similar to other things, it has a special shine to it or a different shine to it. But ultimately, you get these guys to fill a void in your software library, and a very lucrative void that Nintendo basically makes its entire living off of. So if you can get even a little piece of that, you can convince some people to come over from other platforms because suddenly you have the kings of platformers making platformers for you. To me, it's worth $10 to $20 million. We'll see. But you're right. I mean, at the end of the day, Playtonic still hasn't made a great game. I mean, Yooka-Laylee was mediocre. Probably if they had more time and some more resources, they probably could. Because you're right, it seems like what made Yooka-Laylee bad was a lack of resources like that. You're right. They just didn't have the people to build out a game that big in that amount of time and make the whole game compelling. You're right. They kind of shoved all their ideas into like the first 3 hours, and they're like, oh, wow, we need to like make a game that lasts more than like 5 minutes. What are we going to do? And that's where I think you saw kind of the later parts of the game that weren't as inspired as the earlier stuff. So we'll see. We're getting to the point now where we're at the end of the year. We're not going to see a lot of movement on stuff like this. Like people are going to start shutting down for the holidays, getting ready for Thanksgiving and for Christmas. We've only basically got a month left in the year, so I don't suspect we'll see any movement on this until 2020, if at all. But to me, I think it would be a smart move on Microsoft's part.
Could do worse.
They could definitely do worse. Absolutely. All right. It's time for our last topic of GameFace episode 190. It's the topic you've been waiting for ever since we started the show. We're going to discuss Death Stranding, Hideo Kojima's brand new game. It's a PS4 exclusive for now. It's coming to PC eventually. Do they have a date for that for the PC version for next year?
Yes, it's summer.
Summer. Okay. So you got about 6 months before it's coming out on PC. So if you want to play this, if you want to strike while the iron's hot, you're going to have to play it on PS4. I've been playing it on PS4 Pro. Matt, I'm sure you have as well. The reviews for this game have kind of been all over the map. We talked about it last week, and like a lot of people jumped into the comments for GameFace, and we're like, not really. Like if you look at the Metacritic, it's pretty high, and I guess they're right. Like the Metacritic is pretty high for this game overall. I think what the point I was making is if you look at the major gaming websites, their scores are mixed. The smaller sites love it. 10 out of 10. Hideo, triumphant again. It's the major outlets that were more
Although
varied.
even some of those reviews were like, yeah, it's weird. It doesn't make any sense. It's boring. 10 out of 10, genius. Like, a lot of the scores are not adding up to the words.
Okay, so before we get to the nuts and bolts of the game, Do you feel like there is a way you can rationalize that type of an approach towards this game? Boring, repetitive, genius 10 out of 10.
No.
No?
I think there's a way to justify that with a movie, but you're supposed to something you have to play and interact with. Being dull is a death knell to me. Like if anyone else
That was a great sigh right
if
there.
anyone else made this game, they'd be roasted in the street.
If anybody else made it?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think anybody else
This would be a laughing stock if it was anyone else making this game.
I don't think anyone else would be
And no one else
allowed
would
to-
make this game.
No one
Yeah,
would make
could.
it, and no one else would be allowed to make it. Mm-hmm. Because you got to remember, this game was bankrolled by Sony.
Oh yeah.
And I guarantee if another studio had come to Sony and said, this is my game, this is my idea, they never would have given it the green light.
Yeah, I want to make a Postmate simulator with ghosts in it. That's probably not going to get you $200 million.
Yeah. How much do you think that the PlayStation invested in this game?
I'm guessing around $200 million.
Yeah, that's my guess.
I mean, even Cliff Bleszinski was on Twitter posting pictures of the game and being like, I can't even imagine the budget on this game. Like, it's crazy. There's a lot going on here.
There is a lot going on, and we're going to unwrap it for you guys. And we're going to give you our unbiased opinion on this game. I guess we should say off the top, neither one of us are big Kojima fans.
Not really.
We
no.
respect the work that he's done, but we're not fans.
I think his best game is Metal Gear Solid 1.
I would probably agree with that.
There would have been a time I would have said Snatcher, but I feel like that doesn't hold up. Probably wouldn't hold up anymore. But I don't have a Genesis light gun to prove it.
I think that
I
was
actually
his
also really
zenith.
like Metal Gear Solid 4. Like, I know that's the black sheep of the family, but like
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty good.
I liked it okay. I mean, I've never hated a Metal Gear game. I was close to hating Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, and I know that is a very unpopular opinion.
I have never gotten more than an hour into Snake Eater.
Before you guys come at me, I'm very aware that my opinion varies from most people, but I will stand by it today that Snake Eater is not a good game. But in my opinion.
Like I said, I've never
See
gotten
right here, mine is MGS 1 and 3.
I've never gotten more than an hour into Metal Gear Solid 3, and I've tried 4 times. I bounce off it like rubber. Like, it's just
some of the stuff that you see in Metal Gear Solid 3, the cumbersome, annoying crap that you're like, why would anybody make somebody do this in a video game? That is Death Stranding. To me, it's a lot of Kojima's worst impulses come to life.
yeah.
I even struggle, honestly, in a lot of ways.
There's a couple moments here where I kept remembering having to go into the menus and mess with the camo stuff all the
Oh,
time.
yeah.
Just
Or
so-
the whole, like, bandaging and
Yeah.
healing crap, the whole animal part of it.
systems on systems on systems in the service of busy work.
And that is
pretty much what Death Stranding
That
is,
is what
yeah.
you're getting with Death Stranding. I
sure.
can definitely draw parallels between MGS3 and this game.
Now, I
And
can see, even with my limited playtime on 3, I can see that.
Now, the boss fights in 3 were
I
great.
do like it when he falls over, though. I think that's funny.
It's funny.
It's a pratfall simulator to some degree.
It's funny, but do we want to play that?
Not
Is
really.
that fun? Like, the first time it's funny, but then
Yeah.
you see the animation and it's the same every time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I guess if I had to put this in a genre, it's a walking simulator. It's the most expensive, elaborate walking simulator ever made.
I mean, sort of. It's an action adventure game. It's just
Is it?
boring. Yeah.
There's not a lot of action.
I mean, you got to fight the mule guys. You got to fight the BTs. Like, it happens
rarely.
Like, it's an interesting action adventure game in the sense that, like, your goal is to not see any action.
It
You
is,
know?
yeah. It's stealth, so you're trying to avoid the enemies most of the time. You don't want to get in fights.
Even though, like, early on, you are literally not given the tools you need to do that.
right.
And
Yeah,
then
they give
later
them
you start getting. I'm like, well, why didn't you give me that in the first place, you jerks? Like, like literally in universe, they withhold abilities and gadgets from Sam for like ridiculous amounts of time until they're like, oh, you might find this useful. It's like,
I
yeah,
could've used
I
that
could have used
an
that 3
hour.
hours ago,
Yeah.
dude. What are you doing?
Yeah. And when I say walking simulator, I mean it figuratively or just as the genre is, but also quite literally.
Oh yeah, it's more literally a walking simulator than like figuratively. Like this, a walking simulator, as we use it, to me, is usually you walk around. The story is given to you. You can't fight. You can't die. There's really nothing to do. The only reason you can move a character around is to get from story point to story point.
This is not that far away from
not tremendously, but there's stuff happening in between, usually as a punishment.
Yeah.
But like, it's more accurate to say it's a walking simulator in the sense that it's simulating what it's like to have to walk with things on your back. One of the most common interactions in the game is balancing the load on your back with the L2 and R2 buttons.
Yeah, so when I was a kid...
Tremendously compelling gameplay.
I'll say this. When I was a kid, my dad used to force me to go hunting with him. And when you hunt, you learn a very specific way to walk. And basically what it is you look where you're going to put your foot every time. So right foot, left foot. Where's my right foot going? You look at the spot you're going to put your foot before you put your foot there. Mm-hmm. And that's how you walk silently, and that's how you hunt. And that is in this game. Basically, you have to look for every step you take.
Yeah, which is why the scan shows you this detailed readout about what every inch of terrain is going to be like to have to walk over, climb over, or whether you can or cannot climb over it. It's an incredible amount of detail.
You have to climb sometimes over a rock that's sticking out of the dirt like a foot and a half. You have to hit the button to climb over it.
It is...
That's not fun.
It is an astounding amount of detail and intricacy put into...
mundaneries.
Like just the most... Yeah, I don't... I kind of get the people that are kind of entranced by this because it has that Skinner box filling a bar until the bar gives you a little ding thing to it that I guess like MMOs hook people the same way to some degree. But like here you see right now, like building that star rating out. I mean, I got some crazy ratings on this now. I'm like 68 or 70 on BridgeLink at this point. That was
for whatever reason the whole bottom of mine is big.
Yeah, I have a lot in miscellaneous. I have a lot of in BridgeLink because my favorite thing in this game is building roads.
Yeah.
Which should tell you what I obsessively go around, pick up medals. And
it's like American Truck Simulator.
Yeah, and then it is like American Truck Simulator, except you're forced to watch nonsensical story cutscenes between them. But like, and this is a great scene because like early on the game makes a point to be like, oh, everyone in this world knows the situation and the details of what it's like to live in this world, so we're not going to tell you anything. But then you get on the truck with this guy, and he goes on this whole monologue about like what happened in the past, which Sam clearly knows, everyone clearly knows. It'd be like if you got on a garbage truck with a guy, and the guy just started telling you about World War II unprompted. It's like, yes, everyone knows what happened.
It's not just him. This whole game was shrouded in secrecy. Yeah. So this whole game was shrouded in secrecy for like 2 years on this very show. We were asking, what is it? Nobody knows what it is. And then he came out and kind of explained it. Then they put out a trailer that we thought really explained it. And I'm just wondering if because people were just so confused about what it was, if he just overcompensated. Because this game, there's no mystery left after the first hour. You have a couple conversations with people and they just spill everything and overspill.
Somewhat. I mean, you don't really know who Higgs is, or there's clearly something up with your sister you're trying to find. Like, there's stuff going on, but like, here's the thing. Like, after the first couple, you spend like 5 minutes actually playing in the first hour and a half. Most of it's just watching.
You just watch cutscenes.
Yeah. A lot of which you've already seen because they were the early trailers.
Yeah, basically all the trailers you've seen are the first 4 hours of the game.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So at least you know nothing was spoiled.
Yeah,
really.
there's nothing really that was given away. But like, the thing is, like, early on I was thinking, like, if this was anyone else making this, movie or game, I would be intrigued by what this is setting up. But it's Kojima, so I know it's going to be dumb. And sure enough, as you learn more and more about what's happening, it is really dumb.
Yeah, if you really start thinking about... So the premise really is, and here's in a sentence what this game is about. America went through the apocalypse, and you need to reconnect the internet all the way across the country.
Pretty much.
That's it. That's what it is. You start on the East Coast, and you have to work all the way to the Pacific Ocean, going from one node to the next, reconnecting the internet for America.
And you do that by being an Amazon Prime delivery man.
Basically, yeah.
So, I mean, there was a point early on when after like the first like 5 or 6 deliveries I'd done, where I'm like, oh, so I'm just like a pizza delivery guy in the apocalypse. And then the next mission I got was literally to deliver a pizza to somebody.
Like a joke from Kojima almost.
It's like he knew that's when you were going to think that, and it's like, oh, here's a literal pizza. motherfucker. Like, here you go. And by the way, keep it horizontal and make sure it gets there hot. Sit down. Yeah. I'm like, this is just a gig economy simulator with ghosts in it.
But going back to what
also,
you're
there's
saying,
no way to make the pizza lay flat intentionally in the inventory management system. You have to like
stack your
backpack up till it's full horizontally and then stack the pizza on the top of that. I had to like pull out metal from the storage so I could have enough stuff on my back to do that. It's ridiculous.
Now you're talking about attention to detail, though. This game does have it. Like,
for sure.
Like, stacking your cargo is a huge part of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, figuring out how it's all weighted, like how you can stack it without it falling over, how you can stack it so you won't fall over.
And the stack of it and the center of gravity and the balance that results in is all simulated. It's all there. You can feel the difference when you're walking around and trying to balance. Wind can blow you over.
It's so annoying, though.
Oh,
it's just one. It's like when I've talked about this before. It's when realism goes wrong. Making something more realistic does not make it more fun. That's just, sometimes it can, sometimes it won't, but it's not a guarantee. And like, it's like Tetris is like part of the game. I don't know. Here's what I would say is if you like Kojima's way of telling stories, you're going to love it. If you don't, you're not.
It's just weird. It's like the blatant product placement, like the lovingly rendered
so
Monster
dirty.
Energy drinks.
Everywhere.
Because you can't talk to anyone on the phone and you can't get metal delivered by anyone, but apparently they're still mass-producing Monster Energy drinks. Like,
yeah,
what?
Like, is there going to be an energy drink at this?
Like, and like, don't tell me that that's nitpicking or because like
it's prevalent.
It's demanding that I pay attention to which rocks I'm stepping over. You're asking me to pay attention to little details, and every time I sit in a private room this game forces you to stare at Norman Reedus constantly.
Yeah.
But like he's just sitting there and like he's just got a tray full of Monster Energy drinks everywhere he goes. And it's not like he has it with him. They provide him Monster Energy drinks.
Here's what we were talking about with carrying cargo that's like heavy and unwieldy. So you have to, like, if you start leaning to the left, you have to hit the right trigger. If you start leaning to the right, you have to hit the left trigger. If you're just about to lose it, you have to squeeze both triggers and you'll gain your footing.
Yeah, and the easiest way to do it if you're carrying a heavy load like that is to hold both triggers and you'll just
walk really slow.
Yeah, I mean you can sprint a little bit. Here's the thing, if you are going to play this game, this is my biggest piece of advice. Burn through it to get to chapter 3. Like, get to chapter 3, like, don't. It's like Dragon Age Inquisition. Don't stay in the hinterlands. Don't stay in the first big section you're in. Get to the lake town and cross the lake and get over there, because that's when it opens up. You get the exoskeleton, lets you carry a ton of cargo, and like you start to be able to like modify the way you carry stuff. You start to get more, be able to make vehicles. You start to be able to make roads and other structures with other players. The game finally becomes itself when you get to chapter 3. So don't waste time like running around in the early chapter 1 and 2. Like chapter 2 takes place kind of in like a large eastern seaboard section, but like you can get caught up in doing the kind of the random deliveries. Doing that, don't get forward. Get to chapter 3. That's when
the game breaks open and really becomes what it is for the rest of the.
And then you can judge it for what it is after that point. But like I certainly started.
It's hard to ask people to get through that.
I mean, that's a long slog because of all the cutscenes.
It's not a short amount of time.
No, it's hours. But like, I was certainly at a point where I was like, "Oh my god, I don't want to do this anymore."
I mean, I pretty much quit playing the game last night,
and like,
I don't know that I'll go back and play more of it.
I will probably finish it just to see what the end is, but like,
I feel like I can just watch that on YouTube.
I guess
I just don't have time right now. It's like I've got Jedi Fallen Order coming here in the next day or two.
Oh, believe me, if this isn't done by the time I get to Jedi Fallen Order goes live, forget it.
Oh, like, it's not going to be done. This is like a 60-hour game.
Nah, it's more like 40. Like people are finishing it in like 35, 40.
Oh, really?
I mean, obviously, I'm probably going to be longer than that because I spent so much time building roads. I probably shouldn't be doing that. But there's something compelling about.
No, I think you should be doing that because that's what makes the game enjoyable to play. Once you have the roads built, you can drive the vehicles on the road, and you don't have to worry about like. Because that's the other thing. Like, you get vehicles in this game, but until you have roads to drive on, they're almost as annoying as walking because they also get affected by every little rock.
Trying to get the trikes over
it's insane.
The rocks.
Like, yeah.
It's like, what would really be helpful? If you sent someone out here to dig all these fucking rocks up. Like,
yeah.
Like,
yeah, exactly.
Why can't I do that?
Why is this all there is in the United States? Why is it all just bluffs and green grass? What happened to the United States?
Why is the United States 150 kilometers wide?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Also, it's nice, like, because I can carry now, I guess I can carry like 350 kilograms or something. And I'm like, I guess the apocalypse is what it took for the America to switch over to the metric.
Yeah,
because everything's in kilometers and meters
kilograms.
now. Yeah. It's like you're supposed to. Like, I thought it was going to be connecting like a certain second. You're literally walking to Los Angeles.
Yeah,
but
you can walk a state in like 10 minutes.
Yeah, it takes like 10 minutes to walk from like New York to Chicago.
Yeah,
it's very strange.
It's weird. It's like every step is equal to like 300
miles. It makes
miles.
me think there's going to be some other twist at the end where none of it's real or some of it's something.
I'm sure there's some goofy thing at the end of it.
Yeah.
I don't know if the fight to get there would be worth it though.
I don't know. Like,
it's a very tedious game.
Yep, it is.
There's some cool stuff. Like, look, there's some cool stuff in here. Like, the whole connectivity of it is really freaking cool. So basically, you need ladders and ropes to get over and down like cliffs and mountains. And players who have come before you will have like put a ladder down, and sometimes they'll leave it there.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't stay there forever because the rain in this game deteriorates everything. So if you're out in the rain, all your gear starts to deteriorate, your weapons start to deteriorate. All the ladders or ropes that you leave also deteriorate. But if you get there before they're gone, you can save yourself a ladder. Now, you only need one ladder because, well, that's not true. You should only need one ladder because once you use a ladder, you can take it back. However, there's some times where the game won't let you take it back. So if the ladder's too long and you can't get close to the end of the ladder, you can't get the ladder back. So use your ladders with care. Make sure when you use a ladder that you arc it in such a way that the very top of the ladder is at the top of what you're trying to get to. Because like I used a ladder that was too tall and I couldn't get my ladder back.
So I've never taken a ladder back.
Oh, really?
Ever.
You just keep crafting them or buying them?
I lay them down and they're real cheap to craft. And also, you really don't need them much.
Because there's already ladders
It's populated pretty well already. And you get likes, because it's such subtle commentary, you get likes for doing everything, delivering stuff. Everyone gives you likes for stuff, and you can give likes to player structures you find if you find them useful, or you automatically give likes when you use them. That is why I have such a high bridge rating at this point, is because
You've left them.
Well, because I've rebuilt so many roads. And rebuilding the roads also counts in other players' games. So every time a player in my sort of like group of play, because there's like a long list of players that are all sort of connected
in the same world. Yeah,
it's like a shared server almost. So like every time anyone drives along that road, I get likes for it.
Yeah.
So I get thousands and thousands of likes just because I built highways.
Yeah, connecting with people like you who have high ratings also help you. Mm-hmm. So there is kind of that connective tissue between the player and the game, and I think that's really cool. And I would like to see more of this type of stuff in other games.
Yeah, it's like what he's after there like is a cool idea, and it actually, when it works, it really works well. It's kind of trapped in a dumb game.
I love the premise of the game. I like the world that he's constructed. I like the mystery behind it, but then once you start playing it, there is no mystery. Like, they just spill it all out right at the beginning, and you're right, there's a couple little threads that are kind of dangling out there, but it's like, what happens when I get to California? Like, there's a couple things you worry about, but the overall mystery about what the game is and what's going on in this world, that's all given to you on like a silver platter.
And the further you go with it, the more annoying. Like they call the ghosts or whatever they are in this BTs.
Yeah.
And they don't say what BT stands for early on because everybody knows what BT stands for. Why would you tell anyone about that? But like, so I'm waiting. One of the things I'm kind of minorly waiting for. I'm like, I wonder what that stands for. Eventually I'm sure they'll say what it is. And eventually they do. And it is one of the dumbest things I have ever. I mean, it's, for one thing, it's a 2-syllable name, and BT is also 2 syllables. So saying BT isn't any faster than saying what it actually stands for, which is one of my biggest problems with abbreviate. Like,
yeah,
if your abbreviation isn't shorter than what you're abbreviating, you didn't abbreviate anything.
That's a small problem in the grand scale of this game, though.
But it's also sort of emblematic of the entire thing.
It is, yeah. It's all overwrought and overdone, and
that was a good timing on that.
Yep.
And it's like, it's just weird. Like,
the music in this game, amaze balls. Not just both the stuff that they licensed is great, and the OST is great.
Yeah, but you do spend a lot of time listening to Kojima's playlists. Like,
I'm okay with that. He has good taste in music.
The music's good. I like Churches for sure, but it's like there's a couple moments early on where the music starts playing automatically.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
And like, I'm sort of like, so basically my job is to run around the country, deliver people packages,
listening to Kojima's iPod.
Listen to Kojima's iPod playlist. Like, that's your game. That's the game. It would have been probably better to make this as a movie.
Yes. This is his.
Matt,
this is his movie.
Let's
be honest.
Yeah, but let's be honest. Every single Kojima game should have been a movie.
This is way worse.
His entire oeuvre is basically a frustrated wannabe film director who hasn't been able to do what he wants to really do. Which, I mean, part of the problem is that you're like your pinnacle of like idol worship for your film directing like kind of template is John frickin' Carpenter, who like, while he made some good movies, is not exactly like the creme de la creme of filmmaking.
Yeah.
Except for The Thing. The Thing is great.
It's amazing. This is
and
the
this
worst,
owes a fair amount to that.
It does. This is the worst example of it, though, man. Like, I honestly feel like...
Well, this is Kojima at his most self-indulgent.
Yes.
I mean, in the opening parts of the game, the credits are rolling. Like a movie, again, his name pops up at least 3 times, maybe 4.
Oh,
he does not combine his credits at all.
Should...
Also, the Death Stranding title comes up twice. I don't know what that's about.
Yeah. But this, to me, is like, this is his film. This is the script that he's had bouncing around for years.
Apparently.
And, I mean, is that the truth?
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean,
I thought you read something or whatever.
So much of it is rooted in social media and the lack of connection and that kind of thing. Like, it has to be a fairly recent idea for him. But I bet like the mechanics of like the ghosts and the babies being the babies are modems basically. There's even a 28K modem sound effect when you plug into the baby.
I feel like he finally found a sucker to pay for his project.
I think that's a very true thing.
I hate to say that, but honestly, that's how I feel after playing this game. I feel like
after Konami, I'm sure his big thing was, I just want to make what I want to make.
Right.
And I'm going to trade, you're getting me, and the trade-off is I'm going to make pure id.
Yeah, like how I feel about this game is the premise, the story, the characters were all there, and then he's like, how do I make this playable?
Mm-hmm.
How do I take this other stuff that I've come up with and make it a video game instead of a movie so that Sony will give me money to make it?
Well, that is also how kind of, I mean,
because the gameplay in this is a joke,
right? But that's also how he works. Like if you go back to like the interviews they did for the Metal Gear Solid 1 like anniversary, I think they're the 10th anniversary or 15th anniversary, something. Maybe it's 20th. Maybe it was last year. I don't know. But they interviewed a bunch of people that worked on the game, and they're basically the gameplay designers basically straight up said he basically came to them and had his script and all his story, and he basically said, "This is where gameplay goes. Think of something to go here." That was that's all the direction they got.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Which makes a lot of sense, and because at the time Metal Gear Solid 1 came out, which I did like, and I still like.
Me too.
I described it online as it's a minigame collection, broken up by cutscenes, and I was roasted for that because my god! No, but like then, like here, years later, the people made the game like, we basically made a bunch of minigames as boss fights,
and then
that
we
was
had
it.
his pros to snap it all together with,
if you want to call it that, sure.
Yeah,
Vulcan Raven, Giant and Shaman.
Yeah, like I said, this does not. It's right on the line of me not even really considering it a video game. I'll be honest. Like, I really feel like this is a walking simulator with a big budget.
Yeah.
There's just not much. Like, even once the action starts, quote unquote action, like.
It's not nearly as involved as I thought about.
There's like none.
You knock guys out in like 4 punches.
You hit like the attack button 4 times and they're done.
Yeah.
Like the gunplay is not a big thing. Like you use it on bosses, but like you have to make the bullets out of your own blood. Like it's not like a game where you're just constantly coming across like ammo refills laying on the ground. That's not what this game is about. Like.
Same with the grenades, like you're using grenades made of your own blood.
Yep.
Because for some reason your own blood
blood works on the BTs.
Because Sam is some kind. What is he?
He's an anomaly.
There's certain people who, when they get killed in this post-Death Stranding world, can come back to life.
Yeah,
and
he doesn't die.
He's one of them,
and that's important because another important distinction in this game is when you die, you explode, and you leave a crater like the size of like a nuke.
Mm.
So when people die in this game, you have to quickly incinerate them or otherwise they explode. And he is the exception. He can die, and instead he goes to the beach instead of exploding.
Which everyone has a beach, apparently. But they're also all the same beach.
Some are shared.
They're also all different beaches.
And some are shared, too. Like
they're trying to do like a multiverse thing with it, basically.
I don't know.
The metaphor is a little strained at times.
Going back to what kind of prompted this whole tangent, though, yes. Like, I wish I could just watch this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish it was like 3 hours long, because then it would chop out all the BS out of it that gets annoying after a while. All the over exposition, all the goofy characters that have a weird name for like no reason. Like, I don't know.
But you don't think Die Hard Man is a normal name for someone?
It's like
who's also wearing a skull mask that no one ever asks about? No one else is wearing. I just find it. I mean, so we talked about this a little bit before the show. I think this is one of the best looking games of the year. The tech they're pulling off here is amazing. I think it bodes well for what Horizon Zero Dawn 2 will look like because it's the same engine. Like there's no clipping, there's no weirdness, there's no things like bouncing and other things. I've barely seen a graphical error or glitch anywhere. I think it looks amazing. The character models and the motion capture and all that's great. The hair looks great. The weather effects, everything's amazing. All that stuff's good. Even the fact that they took the time to make, a lot of other games would not have shown them put the hood up. They would have just cut away or then
Kojima's games will.
But Kojima
always will.
Kojima will make some poor bastard animate that every single time. But at the same time, it's a profoundly empty open world,
Yeah,
even
my
by the
counter to
terms
that.
of Metal Gear Solid 5. And like you go to these cities, these like
they're like 3 buildings.
But there's like you go in and you get like stats on the cities. There's like population 52,000 people.
Like where?
And you never see anyone. Like there's no one there. It's like a dock and there's no one moving forklifts or doing anything. Like nothing's happening anywhere.
The whole world seems dead.
Seems like a completely, which again makes me wonder if there's like a twist where everything's dead and he's the only thing still alive. I mean, there's got to be something to that because it feels so weird and barren, and everyone's so strange and constantly badgering you about bullshit. It's almost like voices in his own head at this point.
And to your point about the graphics, it is a very pretty game, but it also is very samey. A lot of recycled textures, and I wouldn't even be surprised if they copied and pasted like sections of the world. Like you would never know because it's all the same. And then you finally get to a city and it's like 4 kind of skyscrapers sticking up out of the ground. Like, you're right. It's gorgeous and there's a great attention to detail. But
and all the cutscenes are in engine.
Yeah,
and, like,
they're all real time.
It's all really impressive. It's just in the service of something I don't particularly care about.
Yeah.
But if this is a taste of what Horizon 2 could look like,
Yeah.
great.
I mean,
they're making this engine do some pretty impressive stuff. So, especially considering how subpar some of the facial stuff was in Horizon.
That's true.
Clearly, that is not an engine problem.
Oh, the character models in this destroy Horizon's character models. But the world itself, I mean, you can see right there. That's what the whole game looks like. It's just rolling hills.
Sometimes it's more brown. Sometimes it's more green.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's black because there's like the goo is on the ground.
Yeah.
And so you get caught.
Those are cool moments.
Those are cool effects. Like when you get caught by the things and like the whole place turns into like a black ocean and there's like monster
They're
dolphins
trying to drag you down.
Drag you down. I mean,
like these tar monsters. You have to hit the square button to like fight them off.
There's some really cool stuff in it. It's just in service of something that is very hard to care about.
Have you noticed, Matt, that so when you walk and then you like scan or whatever, you can see footprints of people? Mm-hmm. Have you noticed that if you keep walking on their footprints, it'll turn that path into a dirt path?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Like there's cool stuff like that.
And then you get likes for that because people say that someone used
Start
the path
using your
made.
path that you helped beat down. That stuff is cool. Like I like that stuff, but when the core experience is so, I don't even want to say flawed because I feel like he did what he wanted to. I just don't like what he wanted to do.
Right. What it's doing, I mean, it achieves what it's trying to do.
It's whether you want to do it or not.
It's just what it's trying to do is not particularly interesting. It's just fetch quests after fetch quest after fetch quest.
That's the whole game.
I mean, and I remember early, it didn't become an issue later because like fabricating stuff is actually pretty simple. But I remember early on, I'm like, really, you're going to make me worry about the condition of my shoes?
Mm-hmm. and everything disintegrates.
Yeah,
everything wears down over time,
and it's not even wears down. It's like the rainfall is time travel rain.
Things. Yeah,
it makes things. That's why that one shot where it lands on his hair turns gray.
Yep.
Because it aged his hair.
Yeah, so like there's all kinds of little stuff like that. Like you can't get in the rain.
Which doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't.
Like,
and then when people grab him, he gets permanently bruised for some reason.
Right, yeah, he's got a thing about being touched.
You can't touch him. But when you do touch him, like when you take a shower, you can see the handprints like all over him where people have touched him.
Or where the things have touched him.
Right,
Because that's also, your equipment gets like that if they try to grab you in the ooze. Like you'll see the handprints all over the back of his backpack and stuff.
You go home and you shower in a room that for whatever reason you can't walk around. Like your home base, you sit still and you have to like aim the camera. It's so weird.
Well, he reacts to your camera. Like
he's like talking to you.
He'll ask you like one point. At one point he pointed over at the shower and like did like a begging motion to me.
Yeah, like please let me shower.
I'm like, all right, fine, Norman Reedus.
Yeah, like why is that though? Why?
I don't know.
Maybe that's the twist at the end where you're also a BB. Like
Maybe,
who knows?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Like, and some of that's cool. Like, the shower is impressive because you see the dirt come off him. For a while, like, there's blood sort of on his shoulders, and I was like, how come the blood never washes? And then I finally realized, like, that's just where his shoulders are hurt from having to carry all the crap all the time.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
So yeah, the attention to detail is really
impressive.
second to none.
Especially for a game that they basically finished in like 3 years.
Yeah. I mean, hell, even on the Monster Energy drink cans, you can read the fine
warnings
print.
and stuff.
Yeah.
He just focuses on the wrong stuff. Like, he has a really good eye for stuff like that. He has a great ear for amazing music. He just focuses on the wrong stuff when he makes his games.
I mean, he's got a really great game in him somewhere. It's just he needs the right gameplay director partner that he'll listen to. He needs to get out of his own way.
That's the problem.
He needs to get out of his own way.
He needs somebody who's his boss and can tell him what to do that he will listen to. Because that's what happened at Konami. He's like, I'm not listening to you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do what I want.
I'm just going to spend all your money.
I'm going to spend all your money, and I'm going to make probably the game that's going to sell the best for you in the next 5 years. And I felt like Sony gave him carte blanche to do whatever he wanted. Like, this game, I don't think is going to end up doing very well at all.
I don't know who I'd recommend this to beyond, like, diehard Kojima fans who are going to like it no matter what.
In fact, our TriCaster TD, Jared, came in today, and he said his buddy bought Death Stranding, and now he's trying to figure out if he can return it. And he doesn't know if he can. I think he got it at Best Buy or whatever. And he's like, can I take this back? Have I already lost, like, the window? I don't think Best Buy does returns at all, does it?
I don't know. I haven't tried to return a game to Best Buy in a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, at worst case scenario, you bring it to GameStop and, like, you lose $20 on the trade-in.
Yeah. Probably just better to sell it on eBay or something. But
Probably.
anyway... it's very hard for me to think of anyone to recommend this game to buy it for $60. Like, if you love walking simulators, here is your god game. But everybody else, it's really hard to recommend. Like, I try to think about, like, my buddies back in Philly. Watching one of these cutscenes in this game, and at, like, the 4-minute mark, that I can imagine them looking at me and being like, what the F is this?
And you can't skip anything.
Nope.
You can't even skip him, like, putting the boxes in the delivery thing.
You can skip conversations.
That's about it.
Yep.
And, like,
There's a codec.
Or, like, when you go,
Just like
when you
Metal
deliver
Gear.
stuff and you put it on the little conveyor, you have to watch that conveyor go in and raise up and go all the way over to the right every single time.
I also don't know if you noticed or not, but have you quit and then shut down the console and come back?
Actually, no. I put it to sleep every
Well,
time.
when you do that, you will have to go back and watch like 20 more minutes of cutscenes again. It doesn't save after you watch a cutscene. Oh, yeah. And you can't skip them. Even if it knows that you've already watched them, you can't skip them.
Well, I've always saved manually before I put it to sleep, but I've never actually had to restart the app.
Yep, if you restart it.
I've also never
Don't.
died.
Yeah, I haven't died either. Actually, yeah, now that I think about it, I have died. I died. Yeah, there's footage of me dying right there. I died like very early on in the game.
I only died there's one time where you have to.
That's this, I think.
Yeah, but I haven't died like on my own.
Oh, because of combat or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think, maybe once.
So I've been wondering, like, what happens if you do die? You explode?
No, it just goes black, and then you wake up here.
Because they keep warning me, like, oh, if you don't, like, if something happens to you every time you die, you cause a void out, which is the big, like, nuclear
crater,
the nuclear psychic explosion thing that leaves a crater and wipes out everything. Like,
I don't
around
think
it.
so. I did die at least once, and it just took me it flashes to black, and then it pop, and there you are underwater, and you have to like swim around and search to find your body. Like the first time they do it, the body's right there and it's easy. The second time, I actually had to look for it and like find it.
And the baby gives you the thumbs up, and we're on it.
Yeah, but the second time I died, the baby was butt up.
Ha!
I'm not kidding. So when it goes inside, you see the baby's butt.
All right.
And then he flips around, and then you go into his mouth. So they change it a little bit. Like, again, the attention to detail in this game, amazing, great. But unfortunately, ultimately, you have to play it and try to have some fun with it. And I just...
Certainly Guillermo del Toro's tour de force role.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because it said special appearance in the credits, and I was like, "Oh, he must just show up at the beginning and
No,
don't
he's
see him
in a
again."
lot.
No, he's in like the whole thing.
And like Mads Mikkelsen's role is not what I thought it was going to be. I
No.
gotta admit. I mean, I'm sure it gets there eventually, but like early, you're mostly seeing him through flashbacks whenever you plug into the baby.
From the perspective of the baby,
And he's doing some goofy shit in some of this. Like Mads Mikkelsen had some fun with this role.
He did.
It's actually kind of fun to watch.
yeah, there's one time he's talking to like his wife or his girlfriend or
Yeah.
something, and like, yeah, it's definitely not what I thought.
One time he shows up in a Santa hat, like handing presents, it's bizarre.
It is bizarre.
Like,
this whole game is bizarre, though. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, the game sort of like it runs the gamut between like irritatingly bizarre and pleasantly bizarre. But I don't know, and like the obsession with like bringing back America and stuff is like very weird to me.
So
like who cares at this
point?
It
doesn't matter. It's just a piece of dirt.
Like there's evil ghosts just like floating around outside.
And you're worried about the United States cities of America.
President? Like, give me a...
Yeah. I mean, look, there's so many...
And there's a whole lot of convenient familial connections going on.
Oh, yeah. There's so many contrivances.
Here's Die Hard Man, who just wears this mask. No one else wears a mask like that, and everyone else is like, no one questions this.
I'm guessing later on in the game, he gives you some, literally... 20-minute diatribe about what happened to his face, so he had to wear a mask. I know it's coming. Like, it's very... For a game that's as wacky as this, it's also very predictable.
Well,
because
Kojima's wackiness is predictable at this point, because you've seen it so many times. There is a template to his random. Which is weird to say, but it's true. Carrying corpses around on your back. There has to be a better way to do that. Like, come on.
It's insane, dude. Like, why do they make you wait so long to give you a vehicle? They're there. They're just sitting there.
Yeah, there's trucks, and there's no one using them, so why can't I use a truck?
They just sit there.
And sometimes it'll be like, okay, we're going to pile like 9 things on your back. I'm like, can I just take the... just take the truck? No one's here. It must be Sunday. No one's at work. I don't know.
What's the best part of this game, Matt Kyle?
I mean, the best part of this game is the actor capture. Unless you mean like what you're playing?
Just whatever. What's the best element of this game?
The best element of this game is the mocap and the performances. Even though they're reading nonsense, they give it their all. Yeah. They're all very good. Norman Reedus' character is oddly Solid Snakey.
Like, I mean, he is. If you watch The Walking Dead, like...
Yeah.
I mean, that's
but also in this, like, he's written very similar to Snake, where he's just like, I don't need anyone kind of thing. It's like,
yeah.
Like, and then
another pretty good impersonation, by the way.
I can do a pretty good Solid Snake. Metal Gear. But and also, like, I like building roads. Like, I like the stuff where you can kind of everyone contributes materials to this thing and it builds a thing that everybody benefits from. I think that's cool.
The best part of the game is the connectivity.
Yeah.
All of it. Like what you just said, building roads. Like, you work with other people who are connected to you to build the roads.
And then you see like the little things where like everybody's using the stuff and you're getting likes from it and everybody's getting stuff
feels rewarding.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yep, beating down the path.
I just wish it was in the name of something better than delivering like imaginary boxes to people.
Yeah,
you know?
Look, I think a lot of people will just write it off and say it's just Dark Souls, or no, it goes far beyond what they did in Dark Souls.
Yeah,
it goes way past that.
In fact, I would love to see if we're From Software to return to the Dark Souls idea at some point in the future. I would love to see them integrate this stuff, this kind of idea into that, because that would really change the thing. But I wonder if that going that hard in on it also means that you're sort of married to the idea of this sort of open world barren, because you have to give people room to play. You know what I mean? That said, I feel like you could still have him run into actual human beings once in a while. Like it's a very
isolating experience.
And it's like
Metroid.
Like,
honestly.
You can unlock, as you get your reputation up with the various locations you're delivering to, they'll add holograms outside the entrance. Like, one of them actually has holograms of characters from Horizon Zero Dawn, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But
they also advise like The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Norman Reedus' show.
When you use the toilet, they black out the visual of him in the little pod he's in, with a shot of him like on a motorcycle with Godzilla.
Yeah.
Like,
well, that's his TV
AMC show
on
is that
AMC.
A thing?
Yeah. So he somehow worked out some deal where Kojima had to promote his corny TV show, because he does a show besides The Walking Dead.
So he and the promotion of it is literally putting it over him while he shits.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
I can't help but wonder if that's commentary from Kojima.
It's possible. It's just the products placement. I don't know why it's there. Why is Monster Energy drink all over this game?
I don't know.
Why?
And there's a lot of clothing label stuff from, again.
Oh, yeah.
Like, really? That's still being made? Or what?
Yeah. It's such a weird game.
Also, everything in this game deteriorates except your shirt.
Yeah.
Your shirt never...
Yeah, it never does.
Maybe it's just that well made.
Yeah, or it's that... I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's just the uniforms that the porters use just don't deteriorate. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
So
you should make the boxes out of that material.
Yeah, exactly. So we've already said that we struggle to find someone to recommend this game to other than Kojima fanboys.
Yeah.
They already bought it. They already think it's the best thing ever. There's really no point in even addressing it for them.
And the game seems to, I recognize this with the podcast playlist. If you want to just listen to podcasts or music or whatever and run back and forth in an open world, I mean, this is custom made for that shit. Like, you don't need to pay attention to anything once you get to chapter 3.
You really don't.
Like, it's all out there. Go do whatever you want. Go build stuff. Go collect metals and ceramics and make roads and drive all over the place. Drive all over this tiny little America simulation.
Yeah, once you build the roads, too, getting across America is like, it takes no time.
Yeah.
It doesn't take that long walking. And then once you build the roads, and you can take the trike and the other vehicle on there.
And usually, I mean, I have seen a couple times when the pirate guy, the mules, who are apparently addicted, they were porters like you are, but then they got addicted to being delivered to.
Well, they got addicted to. I thought they got
packages.
I thought they were corrupted by that black goo or something.
Yeah, but they said they got addicted to the deliveries. They got addicted to the thrill of delivering. Is what literally what it says in the emails you get about them. I'm like, so basically these are like Amazon Prime addicts kind of thing. Like they're mules.
They're also afraid of the BTs though.
Yeah, they'll run from the BTs, and like they actually reminded me of it was like a meme post or viral thing going around for like last year sometime, but it was like a Tinder profile or a singles app profile from some dude who was like basically, one of those things about he's bragging about how successful and rich he is or whatever. But buried in all the lists of how awesome he was down to 2 Amazon packages a week, no more. And I'm like, what could that possibly mean? Like,
it means he had a problem.
Is that a thing that like
people
want to know about before you date them? Is how many Amazon packages you get a week? Is that
I'm glad I'm not in the dating game.
What the hell?
That's all I gotta say.
I have so many questions about this, and when they were like, yeah, these guys went rogue because they got addicted to the delivery rush. I'm like, it's that guy. It's that guy. He's trying to limit himself to 2 Amazon packages a week, but he couldn't. He became a terrorist. That's what happened. That's the story of these guys. And they all got the same orange jumpsuits for some reason.
Yeah. So we both struggled to find someone to recommend the game for other than Kojima fans. Do you think there will be a sequel to this game?
Oh, maybe. Like, I don't know. I mean,
I think no.
I mean, probably not. I would, but again, God, I can't. I would, if I were Sony, I'd be like just going back. Hey, Konami, can we make a deal for that Metal Gear thing?
Yeah.
It's like we would like to have him make a Metal Gear game.
Yeah. I don't think we'll ever see a sequel to this because I don't expect it to sell well. It did not sell well.
The UK charts.
In the UK,
yeah.
It was second for this week behind Call of Duty. Not Call of Duty's launch week, mind you.
No, I mean, they spun it as the second best-selling new IP of the year after Days Gone.
Yes. And Days Gone, as we have gone through, and after I went through a crazy Twitter argument with somebody, did not sell well.
Not tremendous.
Days Gone may get a sequel.
And this sold 36% below
less than
Days Gone in the UK.
Yes.
Which would make, extrapolating from what Days Gone sold, which would make it the lowest, by half, would make by 50% sales, would make it the lowest selling Kojima launch of all time in the UK.
I could have told them this was going to happen. Like, who was the person who was like, yeah, let's just let Kojima do what he wants and give him $200 million?
I mean, Metal Gear Solid 5 sold very well, but it was Metal Gear Solid 5.
Yeah.
This is a new thing, and it's very weird, and it's hard to describe, and it's hard to do an elevator pitch for this game.
Well, look, for instance, RTD's friend, he went out on a limb. He's like, that looks interesting. I'm going to buy it. He bought it, and now he's trying to return it. So word of mouth for this game probably isn't going to be great either, particularly when you take into consideration you have to play about 10 hours before the game really starts to happen.
I mean, I'm thinking this is going to do like 5-6 million.
At this point, I think that's best case scenario. You're talking in U.S. only, though, right? Or worldwide?
I think worldwide.
Worldwide, U.S., no way.
No, not U.S., no.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're talking about a company that puts out exclusives that sell 10 to 15, like God of War.
Yeah,
and
they'll keep marketing this game. They will not give up. Like,
and
they will market it.
Not everything has to set new records and set the world on. Not everything has to make $1 billion.
Detroit only sold like 3 million.
Yeah, but they also aren't exclusive anymore. So.
And they also didn't cost anywhere near as much as this cost to make. So, I don't know, man. I don't know where Kojima goes from here. I mean, I think he said he's going to direct films. This is his fever dream. He got like 2 pretty big actors to be in his game, and then like a handful of other probably B-list or higher people. I mean, this is his dream. This is
Yeah.
what he's wanted all
And
along, to be able to work with Hollywood.
And I mean, I'll admit, he just wanted to be friends with Norman Reedus and Guillermo del
Yeah.
Toro and all these guys. I mean, absolutely, for sure. That was obvious from the start. It was like, I mean, people make fun of Jeff Keighley for doing the buddy up to Kojima thing, but Kojima's doing the same thing to these guys.
Right.
It's
just a chain. It's hilarious. It's a chain.
And you know what? Jeff Keighley could probably call up Guillermo del Toro whenever he wanted.
Yeah.
I bet he knows a lot of those guys.
Oh, his dad probably
knows as well. Yeah, for sure.
His dad knows everybody.
I mean, you run IMAX, you're gonna know some people.
Yep. So, Tiny Blip in History says, how does Days Gone compare to this game? We already did like a sales comparison, but we haven't really talked about like.
I'll admit, I think I like this a little better than Days Gone.
Do you?
Just because it's irritating.
You don't have to admit it. Like, it's okay.
It's irritating, but it's not. I mean, yeah, but Days Gone feels like more of a game.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Days Gone.
This game does the other parts
annoying.
so much better.
Yeah.
Like, the story stuff is way better than Days Gone.
I mean,
the gameplay.
The characters are nonsensical, but I like most of them better than anyone in Days Gone.
Yeah.
I feel like as bizarre as everything is, I'm at least interested in the sense that, like, well, maybe it'll be dumb, but at least it'll be something I couldn't have predicted, whereas Days Gone feels very by the numbers. And Days Gone makes you do the same thing over and over again, but I found Days Gone's over and over again more irritating than this one's. Probably because there's so much combat in Days Gone, and I was just sort of annoyed by it. That, like, I was just like, I gotta stop and get more fuel, and now there's zombies, and the shooting brought more guys over, and now I gotta deal with those guys. And I would just get to, like, the end of a quest in Days Gone and be like,
turn it off. I don't want to keep going.
Whereas this, I do go back and forth. I go out and I'm like, I want to stop, but then but no, they have more metal here now, so I can get that metal and go build that road that I haven't finished yet. Like, there is
like
stuff
it's a sim. Like a lot of Sims, it's a great way to waste time.
There's a breadcrumb trail that keeps you playing in this game, even though there are moments where I'm just like, this is so boring. Just one more.
Let me do one more delivery.
Yeah, let me fill that little stupid bar up. It's like an idle game or a cookie clicker kind of game. It's just like one more stupid menial dumb shit task.
Yeah.
And I'll go to bed, or I'll go to. And also, I think one of the reasons I am less irritated than I could have been with this game is every time I felt sort of like annoyed by like how tedious it was, I'm like, in a week I'll be playing Star Wars. And everything will be fine.
I mean, if you're trying to choose between those two games...
We're not here forever.
Yeah. If you're trying to choose between those two games, I think it's very simple. I think if you are a person who kind of is drawn towards story-driven games, then you should buy or play Death Stranding. If you care more about interacting, then I think I would go with Days Gone. You're right, though. I mean, the gameplay in Days Gone is only just barely good enough to get that designation from me.
I will say, however, this is way better than Need for Speed Heat.
Yes. For sure. Of the two games we covered today,
but
by Death Stranding,
better than Need for Speed Heat.
At least it's interesting.
God, even the driving's a little better once you build the roads.
Yeah. But I think more than anything...
It's harder to drift in this game, though.
Yeah. I think more than anything, when you decide to buy this game, you just need the information. I don't even think it matters whether Matt and I say we like something or don't like something about the game with this particular game, because either you're going to like the tedious sim stuff in this game or you're not.
Yeah, and it's like sometimes I guess there's an element of like, is that really? Yeah, yes, that's it.
That is the game.
That's the tweet. Like, that's all it is.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were waiting for like the second hammer to drop.
Yeah.
Like, okay, now when are Matt and Shane going to tell us about the part of the game that's fun? Like, this is the game. Like, even the boss fights in this game are very anticlimactic.
Yeah, just sort of. I mean, the ones I've done so far, I climb up on a thing and I throw grenades at the thing until the life bar runs out.
It's so easy.
That's basically it.
Yeah, like
they do reward you well for them.
Yeah.
Though.
Oh, yeah.
It's worth it.
It is
to kill things in this game.
But there's not much of a resistance.
No, I mean, maybe it changes. Like, I've heard, like, see, that's why I don't get. I've seen like things where people, like reviewers, and are saying like, oh, later in the game it changes and it becomes really different, and that's what you should. But I don't know if they mean.
I think that's when you can
we
start
haven't gotten
building
there yet,
the
or
roads.
if I'm like getting chapter 3.
I think that's it.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Because it does substantially change. There's a lot more to do, and they start giving you more stuff. I mean, they start giving you more structures you can build that would have been really handy earlier. Like there's basically a private room is where you can stay and you get to certain delivery places. But you can build,
shower.
but you get the ability to build one that then other players can also rest in, and that's kind of fun. And there's like shelters. They keep talking about taking shelter from the Timefall rain, but like there's no shelter anywhere.
You have to find caves.
But eventually you can build shelters.
Yeah.
Which
You
is
can
cool.
also
But when you
build-
go under the shelter, it sprays repair dust on you, so it fixes all your shit. I'm like, where was that 10 minutes
Yeah,
ago?
and you can deploy terminals where people can, because you can look. You aren't just delivering cargo that you're required to deliver.
Yeah.
There's cargo like just lost out in the wilderness, and if you pick it up, you can carry it all the way back, or you can stumble across kind of these portable terminals that people put down, and you can load it in there. And then that person who put that terminal down gets some love. You get some love for returning the stuff.
Yeah, and then like there's other like if you drop cargo because you got attacked or something happened,
Or you fall.
and you move too far away from it, it will then no longer be in your game and be available to other people. So like you can find cargo from other players that they lost while they were out in the field, and if you pick it up and deliver where it needs to go, you will get likes from them, and they will get some credit for having their cargo delivered. And it's like. So this, it's
Again, the connectivity stuff is cool.
so they're constantly leveraging that, and that is really where the game is the strongest. I find sneaking past the BT stuff to be so irritating.
It is, yeah.
And they're always exactly where you need to go.
Oh, yeah. Well, they put them exactly in the
course they
line
do.
that you're supposed to walk.
And then like this happens, and it's just again, this isn't scary. This isn't exciting. It's just tedious.
Yeah, you got to jam on the
They
square
pull
button.
all your
yeah.
stuff up, so you got to go climb over here and wait till it goes away, and then go back in and pick up all the
Collect it
stuff you
all.
dropped, and they go.
Yeah.
Tedium as a gameplay design element. It's
That's-
just over and over and over again.
It's accurate. So there you go. That's Death Stranding. I do not think I'm going to continue playing this. However, Matt, if you do...
I am going to probably continue
Okay.
because I have that little to do right now. Well,
so over the next few days...
I kind of want to get to this scene. I don't know I don't know how the hell that happens.
when you go to like World War II... Yeah, I haven't got there yet either. But if you continue playing this over the next week and you feel like you need to discuss something further, we'll talk about it again next week.
It's got 2 more days because
Until
Thursday
Star
night
Wars.
at 9 p.m.
Yeah.
Star Wars goes live, and that's the end of that.
Yep. I'm really excited for that game.
Honestly,
So,
Disney Plus is live. I'm not going to play this now. I'm going to watch The Mandalorian.
well, there you go. Oh, that's right. All episodes?
No,
Oh.
it's only one.
Okay.
So
So,
one-
wait, they're doing it old school style?
Disney Plus stuff's going to come out weekly. Yeah,
That sucks.
So yeah, I prefer to binge, but like Disney. So Mandalorian, the first episode's tonight. The second episode is Friday, and then it's every Friday, I think. After
That's
that,
weird. They're missing one of the key features of being an
ends up-
over-the-top service.
Which ends up in a weird situation where the last episode of Mandalorian comes out a week after Star Wars Episode 9.
Oh.
Not that they're connected, really, but it's just weird that like
That is
you
weird.
wouldn't sync that up a little
Yeah.
better. I don't know.
I mean, and no one knows better than them. So
yeah, exactly.
Anyway, there you go. That's Death Stranding. We may come back to it next week. I highly doubt I'm going to play more. I think Matt will. And if he discovers some stuff that's worth bringing up
I mean,
again,
I can tear myself away from road building and just try to power through the story stuff. I mean, it's not like it matters.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure I can always go back and build roads later if I want to.
I would much rather just experience this as a movie. But with a lot of chopping. Like, a lot.
Oh, right. Yeah, I mean...
But, like, the premise, the characters, the universe, I like.
I mean, I would like to see that after, like, a rewrite or two.
Yeah.
Because, like, wow.
Again, I think...
Just the character names. Like,
Yeah.
I'm Dead Man, and I'm Die Hard Man, and I'm Heart Man. I'm like... Is it a Mega Man game or what? Like, what's going on? Like,
I think a lot of, like, the overt storytelling, I think it was a reaction to people just being like, what is this game? In some cases, I think it's better if a developer can stay away from fans while they make a game. Because I have a feeling this is one time where fan feedback may have actually hurt the game a little bit. But
yeah.
it still is what it is. Like, it didn't... The fan feedback didn't ruin the game, but...
No.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it's still pretty much what he imagined.
Yeah, for sure. It
I
just
don't
makes
think
some parts a
Kojima's.
little more
I don't think Kojima changes his mind for anybody.
That's possible.
Except that time he decided to put his model girlfriend in Metal Gear Solid 4.
Right.
And made everybody start over from a bunch of... There was almost a mutiny on that one.
Yeah, I know. Yep. So there you go. That's Death Stranding. Maybe we'll talk about it next week. Maybe we won't. It's time for our trailer of the week. We have a good one for you. They just released the updated look at Sonic for the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. As you guys remember, they debuted it with a trailer. Everybody hated it. And Paramount was like, okay, looks like we're going back to the drawing board. So they went back, completely redesigned Sonic, and they've already managed to put out a trailer. So I guess it's just like a copy and paste. You put him in, and like all the facial expressions and everything just work.
No, I mean, I mean, they're still working. I mean, I'm sure this is not done yet. It's got till February before it comes out. Here's the thing that I think. So there's a lot of conspiracy theory talk, like, oh, this is always planned. Like they were going to put out the terrible one and get more attention. It's like, no, you don't. You do not spend that kind of money on render farms for that. Like, you also don't make yourself look like a complete idiot. In order to, that doesn't make any sense. What I do think happened is I think there was because of how fast they decided to change it, I think there was a schism in the production over what he should look like. And that at some point the whoever held the purse strings or whoever was higher ranking just won out, and they wanted the quote realistic looking hedgehog version. And when the reaction to that trailer hit,
they already had the other version.
Because the director immediately was like, hey, I mean, I don't think they had it rendered or anything, but I think they had that design.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, see, I told you, everybody's freaking out. We should have used it. So they quickly went back and did the other version.
Okay, makes sense.
So that would be my completely baseless, evidenceless theory. But the speed at which they had this ready to go.
That's what I'm saying is crazy.
Makes it sound to me, not that it was a conspiracy, not that it was planned, but because I think there was a creative argument here.
Fisher.
And they were kind of ready to go either way, and they went the wrong way.
And now,
now they went the right way.
Easy to go the right
because
way.
this looks 1,000 times better.
It does.
It's recognizably Sonic the fucking Hedgehog.
You can tell who it is. Yeah. So here it is. I would say now this is really kind of the debut trailer for the Sonic the Hedgehog.
I mean, this movie's gonna suck.
Because this is what it is.
Like, there's no two ways about it. I'm sorry, this is not gonna be a good movie. But it looks like Sonic now.
Yep. So as usual, during our trailer of the week, that is your chance to get your questions into the chat. Go at Sifted Games so we can find your questions. Also, if any of you guys have been waiting to subscribe via Twitch Prime, now's a great time to do that so I can thank you personally. Until then, let's roll it.
I'm Sonic, a little ball of super energy in an extremely handsome package. On my planet, people were always after my powers, so I came to yours. It gets a little lonely, but that's okay. I am living my best life on Earth. Ow! At the place Sonic! At the Bitches Mount, also Sonic! Ugh, I can't with that guy. Uh-oh.
Why are you hiding out in my garage?
They're coming for me! If they steal my power, they could conquer the universe. You have to help me.
No, I don't. Please, it's life or death.
Good morning, my rural chum.
Mr. Dr. Robotnik. I'm going to give you 5 seconds to tell me where it is.
Wait! Don't hurt him! Road trip? Whoop, whoop.
This can't be happening to me.
Oh my God, stop the car right now!
What?
The world's largest rubber band ball? We gotta see it!
No, this is not some fun family road trip.
You're right. It was lame. Gift shop was cool, though.
Whatever this creature is, I'm going to uncover the source of its power.
Yeah, hey.
I just thought you might like a latte with steamed Austrian goat milk.
Of course I want a latte.
I love the way you make them! We gotta lay low. Let me show you how it's done. So should we get out of here?
Yeah, time to go.
I always want to do this. Nailed it! Uh-oh. Let's go! Here comes the boom!
How are you not dead?
I have no idea!
Oh, give me a big fat break!
That was an illegal left, by the way.
Aw, this one is cute. Let's keep him. Oh, come on! You've got car insurance, right?
Why would you throw your life away for this silly little alien?
Good time.
He's my friend.
Let's go! This is my power. And I'm using it to protect my friends. Let's go! Let's go! So, you're supposed to be Tom's best friend that he won't shut up about. Well, I don't see the appeal. That is very gross. Let's go!
So much better.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like, night and day better.
Like crazy that wasn't what it was what they did in the first place.
He looks like Sonic now. It's a lot of it is the eyes.
Yeah, the eyes and
the eyes are more square now, whereas they were rounder before.
Yeah, well, because they were smaller, beady in the one before. They looked too much like a real hedgehog, basically.
Yeah, I guess you're.
He looks more like a cartoon character, but like that works. Like,
That's true.
You get much more expression out of his face in this one.
Yep, agreed.
And from further away, longer shots, you can see what his face is doing. It's better. It's way better.
It's still going to be a terrible movie.
It's not even better in the sense of like I just want to look like the old games or the original character. It's better in terms of cinematic design.
Yeah.
Like it's just it. The poor man who worked for Sega who designed that as part of an internal contest knew what he was drawing.
Yep.
Knew what he was doing.
Yep. All right, we got a ton of questions in here. We're going to get to some of them. Why is Jim Carrey doing that, by the way? Why is he in that movie?
I mean, Jim Carrey does whatever he wants, really. I mean,
that's a bad decision.
He doesn't command the price he used to. He hasn't had a huge hit in a way. This isn't Ace Ventura 3 or anything.
Vincent brings up a good point. XO19 is happening this Thursday. And he says, Microsoft is promising, quote unquote, the biggest inside Xbox ever. Are you excited at all for it? No.
Yeah, you're going to need to show me something better. I don't even know what that means.
I mean, Inside Xbox is basically their direct. It's a pre-produced video that shows off new stuff, but there's nothing really new to show off. It's so late in the generation, it's hard to get excited for stuff like this.
And you're not going to show us like anything solidly Xbox Scarlet.
Yeah, we're not going to see any next-gen stuff. Like, maybe we get a first peek at the first game from Ninja Theory, or I don't know.
If you're not going to show me something Fable-related, go away.
Which is possible.
Not impossible, but like...
the chances aren't good. But anyway, on Sifted, we will have curated all the stuff from this, so you won't miss a thing as long as you go to sifted.net. ETH Demon, what's your view on of this year in games? To me, this year has been a strong year. At least I have bought more games this year than in the last few.
I think this has been a pretty down year.
Yeah, me too. I mean, look, everyone's tastes are different. So, look, if you feel like the last couple years haven't been great, then you probably do think this year was awesome because everybody else thinks the last 2 years were amazing and everyone thinks that this year hasn't been good. So if you're opposite of that, that all makes sense.
I mean, I'm really hoping Star Wars is a Game of the Year contender for me because otherwise I don't know what I'm going to pick.
It'll be hard.
Probably it's between if Fallen Order turns out to be what I hope it's going to be, it's probably between that and Disco Elysium for me.
There's no home run pick.
There isn't. There's no. I mean, God of War was just like, God
and The Witcher 3.
Witcher 3 for sure.
Easy.
Horizon was easy for me. I mean, I had a favorite game each of those years, even among some of the best games of the generation in each of those. This year, I think, has been really low key. I mean, there's been some great indie stuff.
I'm wondering if ETH Demon is a big Nintendo game.
Yeah, he is.
Oh, well, there you go. That explains it. It's been a great year for Switch, and everything else wasn't great.
Nintendo's had a good year, but none of that stuff has spoken to me in terms of like something that blew the doors off or anything.
Yeah.
In terms of, I mean, Bloodstained was really good. The indie stuff kind of buoyed it, but in terms of AAA, and I would consider Nintendo in AAA.
Oh yeah, of course.
I mean, Pokemon's also on Friday, so we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see how I feel about
that. God, that's a big Friday, isn't it?
I'm not going to get any sleep for a long freaking time.
Yeah.
I have been living on no sleep. Like, I've gotten to the point, Matt, where I can no longer sleep longer than 5 hours. Even on Friday night into Saturday, after I sleep 5 hours, I wake up and I have been doing it for so long.
Yeah, ETH Demon is the Shadowbringers evangelizer.
Oh, okay.
Which, I'm not going to get to that in time.
Yeah.
So
maybe is he asking if you're going to look at it?
No, I mean he has in the past, but like,
stuff?
It's just there's no time for that. Like it's. Like, I believe people that think it's great, but I'm not going to see it till next year, probably. Maybe next summer, frankly. I mean, Q1's pretty packed.
Commander Fett 03. What's your favorite Thanksgiving tradition?
I don't really have one. We didn't really care about Thanksgiving when I was growing up.
So, for me, I honestly, the last 4 Thanksgivings, I haven't even gone home. I haven't been home for Thanksgiving in I don't know how long.
I haven't gone home for Thanksgiving since 2004, the first year we were down here.
Yeah.
Because I remember because you went up also to Oakland, I think, to see
Shell, my wife.
Your future wife. Yep. And I went up because that's where I'm from. And it sucked coming back.
Yes, it did.
Because I think we both drove,
We
right?
got trapped, yeah.
And it took us like 8-9 hours to get back. Well, that's a 5-hour drive normally. It took like 9. And then the second year, I flew back, and that was worse. So after 2005, I just told my mom, like, hey, I'll see you at Christmas, okay? And she's like, yeah, we don't really do Thanksgiving really anyway.
Yeah.
So Thanksgiving's never been a particularly important. I mean, it was important to me because it got some days off school, but beyond that, it was never a thing.
So I guess my tradition now is, because I don't go home for Thanksgiving, I have a buddy who's very wealthy, and he does Thanksgiving every year at the Houdini Mansion.
Oh, yeah.
So I go to the Houdini Mansion and do Thanksgiving dinner, and it's just, I mean, it's insane. Because everybody brings their best dish, plus he just has, like, literally gourmet catering brought in. So I do that. Before I ever moved out to California, my friends and I would do a party every Thanksgiving night. So we'd do Thanksgiving with the family, hang out with the family all day, and then that night we'd just throw a blowout because everybody had off the next day. So we just throw this gigantic party and just get drunk and play foosball and have fun. And we did that every year for like 15 years straight or something like that. So those were my traditions. Now my tradition is to just hang out with a bunch of ravers at the Houdini Mansion.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah, I mean, there's usually like a friends, they call it Friendsgiving, where it's just like because in LA no one's from here really, so everybody has a Thanksgiving gathering.
It's weird being here on
home.
Thanksgiving.
I love it because
It's
no
awesome,
one's here.
but it is weird.
Like,
it's
the
almost
roads are
like the
empty.
world ended. Yeah.
The roads are empty. You can drive anywhere, and because here's the thing. If the lights on Wilshire are timed for 35 miles an hour, they are also timed for 70 miles an hour. And that is the day to find out.
I love that. That's great. Great question, Commander Fett. SJD Swanland, what franchise from book, movie, or any other medium would you want to see adapted into a video game using the engine used in Death Stranding? And what developer would you want to make it?
Well, clearly the Postman.
FedEx guy.
Or Castaway.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I think I've answered this question before. There's this old comic that I had when I was a kid. It was called Destroy. And it was just about...
I remember that. It was gigantic.
It was a big one. It was like this big. And it was just about two superheroes that just fought and just leveled a city. And I feel like making a game out of that would be freaking awesome. That comic, by the way, is really hard to find. Like, if you Google it...
that.
You have it?
I had it at G4 for a long time.
Even if you Google it, you can only find like one mention of it on the entire internet.
Yeah. That was by somebody important. Like, that was a big guy. That was an important guy who did that. That was the guy who did Understanding Comics, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
But the comic was okay. The art was great.
Yeah.
But it was the premise that I really loved. It's just like everybody runs and gets out of the city because these two superheroes are going to go at it, and they just fight with just... And it's just awesome, like just punching each other through skyscrapers and just
it's huge. Like it's the size like a newspaper.
Yeah,
it's
huge.
big.
Yeah, so that'd be my
I don't know where I might have gotten rid of that actually.
I bet you it's worth a ton of money if you can dig it up.
I don't know. I feel like it's something that big. I probably would have given away. To
I
somebody.
Googled it, and it one result on the entire internet. It was crazy. I was like, oh my gosh, like this is even more underground than I thought it was. Like there's one.
I mean,
result.
yeah, it was not. It's not a well-known.
Yeah.
Comic. It's fun.
Justin Horman.
Scott McCloud, that's who it was.
Justin Horman, thank you for subscribing via Twitch Prime. Did anybody else do that? Yep. Commander Fett, thank you.
Was it him? I gotta find out. Yeah.
Do you want to answer the question, or do we want to move on? What book, movie, or whatever?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what that engine can do. I don't know what the significance of that would really end up being.
I don't think the engine matters that much.
I don't know. I mean, just more Star Wars games that don't suck would be my request.
Fair enough. The one Geo, after last week's GameFace, I was a bit surprised by your glowing review of Luigi's Mansion 3. I found the game to be too easy. The controls clunky and couldn't play for more than an hour at a time without losing interest. Wow, interesting. What game as a critic you liked, enjoyed that you found it to be boring? What game has a critic you liked, enjoyed that you found it to be boring? I don't get that sentence.
I'm gonna guess that means like what game has been critically praised but you thought it was boring.
I don't know how you find that game boring. I'd like to know what games
I mean,
you
the
like.
answer to that is Metal Gear Solid 3, by the way. Like, we've already been over that today.
How could you find that game boring? That's crazy. It's like if you were bored, you wait 20 minutes and there's a whole other theme just waiting. Like, I don't get it. I think maybe you had it out for that one, Gio. Emperor Dread. In Death Stranding, I fought a ghost whale. Ran out of ammo and peed on it for about 2.5 minutes in desperation. That kept it away from me and stained it white. It seemed pretty grossed out. What's your favorite thing to pee on in a video game?
The aristocrats.
Yeah, that really happened?
Yeah, you can do that.
I mean, I know you can pee, but he peed on a whale and it turned white?
Yeah, well, all his bodily fluids are like repellent to the DTs.
Oh, right. That's right.
They make grenades out of his pee.
Right. That's right. His blood.
And his blood and then the shower runoff. It's kind of a gross game when it comes down to it.
It is kind of gross, yeah.
Favorite thing to pee on in a video game?
I mean,
probably Gary Oldman in Postal 2.
Yeah.
There
was peeing in Duke
Conquer.
Nukem Forever and Conquer. I mean, probably the better question would have been, what games have had peeing in them?
Yeah, it's not a common mechanic, really.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean,
I don't know.
peeing on a ghost whale is
I like
a pretty
whizzing
good
on
thing.
an electric fence. How about that? For you Ren and Stimpy fans out there. Super Cordon Blue. How long do you think Sony will fund Kojima projects, even if DualShock? Even if Death Stranding is a financial success? Are you interested in another Kojima production outside of Death Stranding? By the way, I'm a genuine fan of his way of storytelling and game design. Okay, so you love it.
Somebody has to
We
be.
found somebody who likes Death Stranding. That's good. How long will they fund his projects? Even if your questions are killing me today. Even if it is a financial success, obviously they're going to keep funding them forever.
They don't need to like it to make money from it.
Yeah,
so they'll just keep giving
as long as
them
they make money, that's all that matters. If it bombs, that's the better question. If it bombs and doesn't make any money, is Sony going to continue supporting him?
Mm-hmm. I mean, they could give him another shot.
They will. I think they will. I think if anything, they would just be completely freaked out that Microsoft or Nintendo might grab him.
Yeah.
So I would say, even if this bombs, and I think it's not going to bomb, I think it's not going to sell especially well for a first-party.
I mean, if they thought this was going to sell Spider-Man numbers, they were crazy to begin with.
Yeah, they don't though. They know that. But I think even if it does tank, relatively speaking, for a Kojima game, I think he'll still be there. How many games do you think he'd have to do this before Sony kicked him to the curb?
Oh, I think he's got 2 chances.
Yeah, one more. That's it.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yep. Great question. Killzone 310 were the people who stole your car from a rival crew. Awesome. I can laugh about it now. That's good that I'm at that place. Finger Muffin, do you think Death Stranding will change Kojima's reputation? Good one.
No. Well, not with me.
I mean...
It's exactly what I thought I was going to get.
Yeah, I mean, this is what he does.
Yeah.
I mean... maybe his point is that people who really love Kojima are in denial over who he really is.
I mean, I have seen some people who are huge Metal Gear fans suddenly sort of have a moment of clarity on this game because the Metal Gear stuff is no longer kind of clouding their vision.
Yeah.
So I have seen some hardline Kojima fans be like, "Wait a minute, this is ridiculous."
Yeah.
But in general, I mean, I don't think if you like his style, I don't think he failed to deliver here.
It's the same thing, just overly wordy, crazy characters.
Yeah.
There's just not as much meat to the game as there usually is.
That you're really not. I mean, you're not there for the gameplay in general anyway. There's just less of it here.
You're there for the stuff I just said, and hopefully some weird, quirky ideas here and there. And it gives you both of that. It gives you both of those. So you're going to like it.
And cutting-edge tech, visual tech, which he also has always, going back to Metal Gear Solid 1.
Thanks, Finger Muffin. Next, this is for Vidya Games. With Disney messing up the Simpsons episodes, what are your thoughts on backwards compatibility for next gen? Wait, what?
I don't know what messing up the Simpsons episodes
what does that have to do? I mean, that's funny if you're just trying to be funny. I feel okay with Microsoft, but have no faith in Sony, especially with why would anyone play this in charge? I don't know I'm following any of that. Do you?
I don't know what Disney messing... First off, I don't know what they did to the Simpsons episodes. As far as I know, they restored them for Disney+. Second, What does that have to do with backwards compatibility?
Yeah, and why would anybody play this? Who is that? Who
I
said
don't know.
that? Why would anyone play this?
Is that did the Guerrilla Games guy say that about something?
I guess maybe that's what he's saying. I haven't heard that quote to know. I don't know. Emperor Dread, thank you for subscribing via Twitch Prime.
Wait, okay, people saying the aspect ratio of the Simpsons episodes got screwed up? That's not true. Like the FX ones have like a zoomed in ratio, but on Disney Plus, I haven't seen them yet, but supposedly on Disney Plus, the Simpsons episodes are the original 4:3 ratio.
I can't understand.
Disney fixed them.
I can't understand. With Disney messing up the Simpsons episodes, what are your thoughts on backwards compatibility for next gen?
I don't know what any of that means.
I cannot figure out how it's supposed to be tied together. Anyway, it was fun trying. Joaquin Dragoon, from the previews, it looks like Star Wars is a Souls-like. Shane, are you up for playing this? Absolutely. I am going to give it a go.
The question is he up for liking it?
Right, or continuing to play it. I'm definitely have to give it a go, and I'm going to give it a chance. It doesn't sound like it's quite as hard as
No,
Souls.
I don't think it. I mean, I think it will get. You got 2 difficulty levels above normal, so I'm sure if you
and
want
I won't be touching
a harder.
this.
Oh, you want a harder one? Then yeah.
I'm good. It sounds like it's not that tough. I think I'll be okay. Justin Horman, this or that? Ninja Gaiden 2 for 360 or Bayonetta 2?
Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of Bayonetta. I'll be honest.
I like Bayonetta.
I
but
like it,
It's
but-
not on par with Ninja Gaiden to me.
Agreed. Mr. Satterfield, ringside seating for the final game of the Stanley Cup Finals with the Penguins, or season tickets for your favorite NFL team? Oh boy. Well,
Assuming the magical ability to attend the games without travel.
There are way more hockey games than NFL games. There are 82 hockey games a season, 41 home games. There are 8 home Steelers games a year.
There's a value. To
it's a value play. I'm going NHL. And for you, Mr. Kyle, from Transformers the movie OST, Instruments of Destruction or Hunger?
Instruments of Destruction.
And why?
It's a better song.
Okay. Fair enough.
It's also a better scene.
The J-Bone 20. Lots of new people on here today. That's great to see, man. Thanks for everybody stopping in and checking out the show. The J-Bone 29. What are your thoughts about Kojima Defender saying not all games have to be fun? If I'm not entertained after a few hours, I'm out.
I mean, not all food has to taste good. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they don't have to be fun in the sense that, like, I come out of it feeling bouncy and happy and optimistic about things. Like, you can have a downer game that isn't like what you describe as fun, but it better be good to play. It better be fun to play, unless you're trying to make a point by how boring it is to play. And so far, Death Stranding has not tried to make any points.
I think there needs to be a line drawn between entertained and fun. There's a difference.
Yeah.
You can be entertained by something that isn't fun. It can be serious or dark or gritty or whatever, and that's the big difference.
Or at least engaged, and I am not.
Yeah.
Either of those things, except when I'm building roads.
Yeah, I understand. Like,
the connectivity thing is a bit of an interesting draw, but I feel like it's the only thing.
It kind of is the only draw, unless you're head over heels for Kojima. And you're right. After a few hours, I think most players are like that. If a game isn't fun after a few hours, players quit. They don't want to. Why? Who wants to do that?
I mean, if someone hadn't told me to get to chapter 3, I would have probably quit before then.
Yeah.
If I'm honest, like I was just like,
It was
I felt
hard
like I'd
to
already
get
seen
there. It was hard to get there. Justin, who bought us our gifts, said there are gift messages on the gift receipts. Where did the boxes go? There's one.
Here's the Honda one. Nope.
They're not on there?
There's nothing here.
Oh, that's a shame. You don't see anything?
No.
Well, if we find them, we'll read them for sure.
Oh, here's the other one. It's a different page. Happy early Christmas, Mr. Kyle. I've really appreciated your voice on GameFace since you joined the show. As a host, thanks for being great. Butts.
There you go. And I don't even know where my box went.
It's over here.
Oh, maybe it's in that box.
I opened both of them.
Oh, that's right. One second, folks.
I am so used to...
Find it?
I'm so used to not paying attention to what's in the Amazon box.
Yeah, because it's usually a bunch of
I'm
garbage.
as bad as a terrorist in Death Stranding.
Here we go. Yo, yo, yo. Merry early Christmas, you filthy animal. Butts from your fellow sifters. There you go. I'm glad I read that on the show. Lesteven, we hit 100 viewers. Awesome. All right, I think that's it. We're way over anyway.
Yeah.
Thank you, Justin and Sifters, for the great gifts that we got for Christmas. It's cool to get a Christmas gift in like mid-November. I think that's the first time that's ever happened for me. And it will definitely be put to good use. I will be right back here next Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. More big games. We'll be talking Jedi. What else are we going to have next week? Pokemon. Yeah. They're just going to keep on rolling.
Need anything more than that, really?
Not really. They're just going to keep on rolling until the end of the year.
Maybe if you're lucky, a little bit of Stadia.
Yeah.
If they gave you anything.
If you mean if Stadia's lucky and we actually try it.
True.
Those of you listening on Apple Podcasts or Google Play, first of all, thank you. Glad you found the show. If you could help us out, that would be awesome. Head to our Patreon at patreon.com/sifted. I know this part of the show sucks for people watching the video, but you got to realize a big part of our audience just listens to it. So I have to verbalize stuff that you guys are seeing on the screen. I would also bring up to the people listening on Apple Podcasts or Google Play that we have a video version of the show. And if you'd like to watch that and actually see the games we're talking about, you can pledge at our Patreon, again, at patreon.com/sifted. Thanks to everybody who subscribed via Twitch Prime during the show. I'm sure we missed some. I apologize for that. But as usual, if you can hold on until the end of the show, it's always better because we can recognize you guys then. So we'll be back here next Tuesday, same bat time, same bat place. Invisible Walls is up and out, but so is GameFace.